Hey, welcome to episode 14 of We Can't Code, So We Criticize. This is a weekly
Whoop, whoop.
podcast. We're just going to keep going. This is a weekly video game podcast between two friends where we share somewhat biased opinions about our games, but I mean, what opinions about games aren't biased?
Yeah.
But we also cover week-to-week gamer news, etc., etc. My name is Ben.
I'm Michael.
And so we haven't done a podcast in like 3 weeks now because holiday break, obviously.
Yeah, and it was really brutal for both of us because neither of us were home. I was out in the middle of nowhere in Mississippi with no signal. I could barely get 3G.
Brutal holiday.
I had a great time though, like got to ride a four-wheeler and stuff for the first time. So that was cool.
I feel like brutal's the wrong word to describe it. You're like, oh, holiday break, I rode four-wheelers in Mississippi and I didn't have to talk to anyone.
It was great.
Yeah.
It was in the middle of nowhere. I had like 20 acres to myself, so I was literally walking around
Brutal.
the property just half naked, just drinking a glass of wine. It was great.
Yeah, that sounds pretty brutal.
I loved it.
I spent my week, or I guess I spent the last half of December in Illinois.
Yeah, back where we came from.
Yeah, with my fam. But, I mean, away from my desktop computer, away from kind of like a whole bunch of other stuff like that. So, in terms of the games that I was playing, I was actually playing like a bunch of Nintendo Switch games.
That thing is so good.
Yeah, so Mike, you picked up a Nintendo Switch like
Yes, I did.
earlier this week or something.
Yeah, I picked it up a week ago, maybe actually just 5 days ago. And we're going to get more into it because of what we did yesterday, I guess. But I enjoyed it right off the bat when I got it. The graphics on the TV is just beautiful. I just have Mario Kart 8 right now. And my God, on the TV with 4K, that thing looks amazing. Me and my girlfriend were just blown away with it.
Yeah, it's crazy that I brought it in my backpack over here to record.
Yeah.
Like it fits in like it's almost as big as it's almost as small as a Nintendo DS.
Yeah.
And it has 1080 graphics like on large screens and stuff. I mean,
It's
it looks
insane.
great.
And like the docking thing is light as a feather. You could just toss that for a mile. It's so light and there's literally nothing to it but like really just a charging station and a way to connect to your TV easily.
Yeah.
And it's just amazing how much power it is in this little thing.
Yeah, it's kind of funny, like, since Mike got his Nintendo Switch, like, I've had mine, but no one else has really had one. And the main key of it is playing with other people.
Yeah.
So, since Mike got his Switch, I've been, like, rediscovering my love for mine, essentially.
Yeah, and I've been just loving it even more, too, just for how stupid easy it is to hook up with someone else with a Switch.
Yeah. So, in terms of what I've been playing in the last couple weeks since I've been home, this is all kind of around the Nintendo Switch because I wasn't able to bring my desktop home with me. I mean, why would I?
Yeah.
But I really started diving into Zelda Breath of the Wild. This is kind of an ongoing thing. I got a couple more hours into it, but realistically, like it's a 40-hour game at minimum from what I've heard. So it's one of those games that I know in the past we talked about like PUBG for like 30 minutes on end each for like 3 episodes and like 7 Days to Die and whatnot and Diablo. Like I just want to briefly mention it until I kind of get to the end. But so I've been playing Breath of the Wild. Another game that kind of took my attention, and this is a game that's on the Nintendo Store. Mike, I think that you look into it. I'm not going to give it amazing, like glowing reviews, but it's decent. It's called Golf Story.
Golf Story.
Yeah, so, I mean, fuck, I could even pull out my Nintendo Switch as we're talking here.
I can just Google it right now.
Yeah,
I got
sure.
my laptop right in front of me while you talk about it.
But
Never heard of it.
essentially, it's a 2D golf game where, like, your perspective is top-down, and it's pixel art. So it's not like 3D, it's not anything like that, but it's an RPG kind of golfing game where, like,
What?
it's not exactly like it's not strictly golf, I should say. Like you level up, you can increase like it plays out kind of like an RPG.
Pokemon. Like the Pokemon graphics top down, you move around from village to village and all that stuff.
Yeah, it doesn't play like Pokemon, but it looks like Pokemon.
Yeah, do like people challenge you randomly or something like that, or
yeah, so like you have to prove yourself, but each like it's a kind of like fiction-y kind of golf. Like the different golf courses you go to, there's one called like Cheeky Beak Peak, and that's like on these like huge hilltops where if you hit the ball and it goes off the edge, like it's just it's an out of bounds, it's an OB, and you like because you're standing on like cliff tops. There's another one where you're on the beach, so like half of the courses are just completely sand, and you're just fucking whipping it out of the sand with with your fuck. I've been playing this game. I can't think of the putters or with the clubs now. I think it's the wedge.
Wedge, yeah, I believe so. But
Yeah, you're just wailing on your golf clubs with the wedge, like going through the course slowly. There's another one that's like Halloween themed. There's another one that's like prehistoric themed. Like it's kind of cool.
So you go from town to town, finding random people to prove yourself to be the best. That's Pokemon, dude.
It might be.
Just saying. It looks fun though. And it's the graphics look nice. Like I said, it looks like a really good like the not like the latest version of Pokemon, but like in between. It looks nice. The color of it, design is nice. It looks cute.
It pretty much that. I mean, it's more obviously cute is more Mike's territory, but it is a cute kind of like simple game.
I've been noticing lately too, especially because like I watch YouTube a lot and I watch a lot of Let's Plays. Man, just like golfing games have been just going with a lot of people. I have no idea why, but there's just been this mad craze for golfing games and like mini putt games.
Yeah. So before the reason that I don't want to talk too much praise about it, and this is probably one of the best praise or one of the best criticisms that someone could give to a game, but I think it's just kind of too long. Like I've played about 4 of the worlds and I've put like 8 hours into it, and it just doesn't really feel like a game that I want to invest more than like 6 hours into.
Mm-hmm.
And like,
does it seem kind of repetitive or no?
Well, I mean, the gameplay at the end of the day, you are still like golfing. It's probably like 70% of the game is golfing and golf tasks, and then the other 70% the other 30% is just like RPG things, like talk to this guy and get this quest and then go here and so it's a lot of like
filler almost.
Yeah, I mean it diversifies it.
Okay,
I like that it diversifies it, but it feels very like it's not like Tiger Woods where all you do is golf. Like it's cool that there are these RPG elements of like talking to people, making friendships, doing tasks and quests for people, but portrayed in a golf situation.
Sounds more and more like Pokemon to me. It's great.
Yeah.
Making friendships and stuff.
It's aside from the fact of everything that is Pokemon, the world and everything does kind of.
It's not a bad criticism, and it's like I don't want to say, "Oh, it's Pokemon." It makes me just think of Pokemon.
No, I mean, I guess I haven't. I don't know. Maybe it's not so much like Pokemon, but I understand where you're getting at.
Yeah.
The graphics.
I just immediately saw what it looked like, and it's the same kind of not pixel art, but art design of that top-down view when you can go to towns, all that stuff.
Right. Well, so that's Golf Story, and
nice. I might give it a pass because, like, even though that it's really picking up, and I have nothing against golf games, I just really can never get into them.
Yeah, and then the other game that this isn't anything new that I've played necessarily, but I've been playing more Mario Kart 8 since Mike got it. And Mike, if you had anything that you played solo, I mean, feel free. We can talk about that, and then we can get into Mario Kart 8 or something.
So basically, because like you were saying about your New Year's and all that stuff, like I was in Mississippi for Christmas, and I came back to Montana to celebrate New Year's. And I actually got a job now in where we live at, so I don't have to travel anymore. So
no more shit quality podcasts.
Yep, and
I mean, we'll see about the content.
Yeah, but it could still be shit. Who knows? But, I can actually focus, I'll have an easier time focusing on stuff like this and actually getting out more articles and stuff, and I'll just be less tired after working, because I'll be working less hours, which is nice.
Mm-hmm.
But the only game I've really been playing is, Darkest Dungeon. I just, dove into it, I just head dive into it to finally, understand how to play the game, and I just realized too, in the last podcast when I brought up, I gave it a horrible description, so just kind of wanted to give it a rerun of what Darkest Dungeon is, if you don't mind.
Yeah, that's fine.
But Darkest Dungeon is...
It's like Pokemon.
Yeah, it's actually like Pokemon. It's really... You collect these people, they fight for you, because you fight other monsters.
You can't focus around one characteristic and say it's like Pokemon. I was going to give you the pass on Golf Story, but fuck you if you're going to say Darkest Dungeon is like Pokemon.
It's not. It's really not. If you guys ever remember our last podcast when we talked about Soda Dungeon, it's like that, when you actually hire people to go through these dungeons. But the story actually of Darkest Dungeon is that you have this family lineage that owned this manor. And this manor was the families that owned it were super rich. They were just buttload of money. They had bitches for days. And this is the description of the intro, which I always skipped because, Darkest Dungeons sound system just blows your ears out. So like every single time it started, like skip, because it would be so loud.
Have you tried turning down the volume?
I have. Like I had like the normal volume, and it would still blow your ears out. It resets itself. It's really annoying. And so finally, like, I decided to like fix it. Then I went back and listened to it. So like I finally got the story, and it made a lot more sense to me. So like you have this family manor. And, like, there's the last one to own it, just got bored of all this money, all that stuff, all the sex. He was just overindulged with all this experience.
I know. I understand that life completely. Just fuck all that shit. Who needs money and bitches? When you've got a dungeon.
Exactly. Well, that's what he finds out later,
dungeon.
is that their manor's built on, like, 5 dungeons. And so he spent all the money and, like, and everything that the family's built on, searching these dungeons for just like these relics. And just going through these dungeons, him and the people that lived in the area slowly went mad until he brought the whole manor to destruction. And he then, in the final letter, sends you out a letter saying, I am now giving this manor to you, please restore it to its former glory, and kills himself.
Hello, I'm Nigerian Prince, please give me $10,000. There's a fortune in the bottom of my rape dungeon castle. Feel free to check it out.
Well, the thing is that you get the letter and it says like you bring it back to former glory, but you come in with no money either. So the only way for you to bring back the manor to its former self is to go into the dungeons, and so that's all you find out about the manor. And so you find out more about the story as you do more, as you search the dungeons. You find these family relics, these family notes and stuff, and I actually got really good crazy into it because in the manor there's these blacksmiths, all these things to upgrade these people, these heroes or these champions you hire, or mercenaries. They're better to call them mercenaries. And so like there's the wagon where that's where you get your mercenaries from. The more you upgrade it, the more mercenaries you can get, and then the more mercenaries you can have stocked in your saved area, which is nice. You don't have to keep on paying them. You just grab them. It's like, all right, you're joining us in this escapade. And so you upgrade the wagon to hold more, to get more, and to get higher level ones too that are already upgraded. There's other stuff to upgrade other abilities that are like their weapons or armor, and to upgrade their skills they have. And there's also places to help with their sanity, which I didn't fully understand until like finally when I just dove more into it, is that their sanity sticks with them. It's like their health bar too. So they have a health bar and a sanity bar. And once their sanity reaches full twice, they have a heart attack and die. So I actually lost. I didn't fully realize that. So like the last team was Larry with the say. It's like, okay, so like when they go and say, they just kind of ignore what I'm telling them to do. They fight with each other, kind of just doing their own things, or maybe just skipping the turns. That's not too bad. So I just kept on going insanity until finally all of them had a heart attack at the same time. It's like, oh, okay. So
what
they
a
all
coincidence.
died. And which is nice is that you don't get punished for them dying, because you only lose the equipment you sent them with, which is usually preservative stuff, so like food, torches, and stuff to help them out through the campaign, and items and trinkets that you give them, which they only can have up to 2. So there's actually no real loss of losing mercenaries, but except for like, if they're a high level. They're all level 0, so it's like no problem.
I mean, I would consider you an accomplice to their deaths.
Well, I mean, they chose. I didn't force them to join. They came to the manor knowing that shit's going down.
There's no loss for having them all die, except that you assisted in quadruple homicide.
Basically. But, like, the game got so much in depth with me, too, because of there's so many different type of mercenaries. There's, like, one guy that just attacks with a hound dog, and he specializes in just most attacks lead to bleeding and damage. And then there's like these knights, which are great for attacking, but mostly against unholy creatures like undead. And what's interesting is that there's 4 different dungeons, and each dungeon has specific enemies in it. Like one will have undead, so you wouldn't bring like the guy with the Houndmaster with you, because his main ability is like making characters bleed, and the undead don't bleed because they're fucking skeletons and zombies. So there's no point in bringing it with you.
I've got one question.
Yeah.
There's 4 dungeons in the game?
Yeah.
But which one is the darkest dungeon?
The darkest dungeon is the 5th one, which is the boss dungeon.
Oh, I was making a joke, so that's a serious thing.
No, that's a serious thing.
Okay.
Which I have not been going to yet, because if you click on it, all your mercenaries goes like, fuck you, I'm not going there. Because like,
it's dark.
Exactly. Because like when you level them up, they what you do is you level up their courage and all that stuff, and that means they can do higher levels of dungeons. And which is nice is that each time you click on a dungeon, each dungeon had set missions during that week. And weeks are run by, you do a mission, and then the next week is the following week after you do that run. And so and when you click on them, it shows you, all right, so this is what you get for doing it, which is usually like a rare item and all that stuff, or just some like bonus stuff to upgrade all your stuff. But yeah, it's just like, it's so in depth because you also have to make your guys rest, because when you make them rest, they lower their sanity and all that stuff, and then become back to normal. And the game is just, there's so much more details in it now because of all that stuff. You have to figure out who works best with some people, because some people won't work with other people. Because I have this werewolf guy that turns to a werewolf, which is fucking awesome.
Are these like racist people? I'm not going to work with this guy.
No, yeah, there's the whole people's like, no, fuck you, I'm not working with this guy.
He believes in Buddha.
No, because he's a fucking monster. He's like, we don't work with that guy. They literally not, you can't even force him to work with him. So I had to make a new team of unholy people to work with him. He would rather be forced to kill himself than be forced to work with a werewolf, is what you're getting at. Basically. And it's pretty harsh, because it's like, I'm not working with this monster or this creature of the dark. I'm like, he seems like a pretty nice guy.
He's like pretty... You look at that smile.
Yeah. He's just like this, like, the werewolf guy's like also just in chains, and just like, he's just very just beat up and shit clothes. I'm like, oh, I feel bad for the guy. You guys are just shitting on him like that.
I'm not going to work with this vagabond.
What's great though is like he's like the strongest character that I have, but like the problem is that like he only can work with certain people.
Oh, I see. That's how he does. That's why he doesn't want to work with the werewolf guys, because he's like, I don't want to work with this guy. He's gonna make me look like a fucking pussy.
He does actually. It's fucking awesome. The guy is great. I love him.
He's gonna steal all my thunder.
The problem is though is that when he turns to a werewolf, everyone gains sanity like every turn. It's very little, but so it's like you have to balance him out a bit. So. Because he can attack two people at the same time, but I'm getting way too deep into it, but I'm just loving the game. And my favorite part is just trying to collect these relics, because there's like 4 different relics you can find, which upgrades each type of manor, and each one takes 2 types of relics. So my main goal right now is to upgrade all my buildings, my manor, to their full experience and all that stuff. And as you upgrade them, you actually see them rebuild and all that stuff from shambles to actual like physical buildings, which is really cool. And so that's Darkest Dungeon, a much better explanation of it. The biggest criticism I have for the game is that there is nothing to tell you what the fuck anything is. Worst like intro ever of just saying, oh, this is how you play the game. You get none of that.
Like no tutorial?
No tutorial. Like the tutorial is nothing. Your biggest hope is to find the mini log in the bottom right, which is just basically just a dictionary. So everything's in order. So if you want to find something out, just pull it up and you have to look it up yourself and all that. And another pain about it is that all the buildings in the manor only unlock as you play maybe 4 levels. So as you're playing like 4 dungeon runs, you're going in blind and actually how to support your characters the best way. And so after when finally everything was upgraded, I fully understood all the mechanics in the game and all that stuff, which was annoying. And that's a mark on it. But I still love the game, and I highly suggest looking up. I couldn't really find any videos. I had to teach myself how to play the game. So I might make a video featuring online of actually for intro players, a real intro player of actually how to play Darkest Dungeons for first timers.
That would be interesting, actually. Yeah,
because I think this game is. It's been given a lot of it got a lot of high praise, but I think a lot of people overlooked it because of just how complicated the introduction is, and I feel like this game should be doing way better than it has been doing in the end.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have heard of all the praise that it's gotten, but yeah. So hearing you talk about that, I kind of brushed over Zelda Breath of the Wild, but as you were talking about it, I think it's interesting to hear your first impressions. When we first talked about Darkest Dungeon, you even just admitted it, 10 minutes ago. You were like, hey.
A shit description. Even when I was saying the first, I'm like, this doesn't fully explain it. And just now, after diving into it, I get it.
But it's cool to hear the progression. Like, when you first jump into a game, you're hypercritical of it. I was hypercritical of Zelda Breath of the Wild. I mean, when did I give that description? Like, the last podcast or 2 podcasts ago? And I was like, oh, I don't know, the weapon system sucks, all that. Like, those criticisms are still there, but the more and more familiar that you get with the world, the more you're willing to, put it to the side.
Right.
And, I mean, I'm not done with the game, so obviously our top 5 this week is Games of the Year. Not being finished or even close to finish with the game, I'm not going to have it elected for any of those top 5 Games of the Year.
The same thing with me with Darkest Dungeon.
But I could totally see, a lot of other people's top 5 lists did come out, and I could totally see why it showed up as number 1 on a lot of those people's lists. So to get into Breath of the Wild a little bit more, if you're done with Darkest Dungeon,
I'd like to hear more about the game because I'm going to be picking up Breath of the Wild. I'm going to buy it used though, of course.
Of course.
I mean, it's this is a single player game. There's no reason to buy it and all that.
Sure. All right. Hey, you do you, bud. So Zelda Breath of the Wild. The first time that I talked about it, it's it does a lot of things right, but the thing that was throwing me off, the only criticism I think I had before was that the weapon system's kind of bullshit.
Yeah.
And it still is, but kind of moving forward to like being more familiar with how things work and kind of getting the controls down a bit more, being a bit more fluid in general about the game. There's so much more that the world offers to you as you continue moving forward. Let's see, I'm trying to remember where I stopped off last. I think I just did like the basic tutorial level first or something.
I think the last time we talked about it, you were playing in the flight back, and then you were just trying to hit the furthest boss from you.
Yeah, so, the last time I talked on the podcast, I went to Kakariko Village.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like where, like when you're done with the tutorial, the first thing that they tell you is go to this village, and then from that village you actually get like a bunch of different quests, and you can approach the game however you want, really. Like
Which I love.
You can go to any of the 4 like main bosses essentially, and then there's also things about like just exploring the area. There's incentives to just like even to just discover the map. Like that's you climb a tower in each region, and it like fills up part of the map. And then once you do that, or once you go to like places of interest, you can always teleport back to it. So even if you just spend your time like fucking around, you can still like, okay, I've explored all the map, but now I still get it still helped me out because now I can jump to the spots I need to really quickly versus like making that trip all over again. But it's pretty cool. Like there were some small things that really piqued my interest. There was one where I got to Kakariko Village, and then like immediately I was just exploring around. They've got these absurdly like Super Mario style background hills that are just like straight vertical, and then so like you have to like strictly climb up them, and it takes a while. And like once you get to the top, you can just like from your feet, you don't even have to like get a running start or anything. You can just kind of like jump off of it and then you have like a little parachute essentially.
Okay.
And you can just kind of like float from there. Like it's that vertical that you can just go to the edge, jump, and then parachute and like fly, miles away.
So unlike Skyrim's actually practical to climb the tallest mountains instead of just going around it.
Yeah, and even so, like Skyrim had like stairways and they had like plateaus on the mountains and stuff.
Yeah.
The ones around the area that I were at, they were just like, boom, like, vertical wall,
Are the horses magical too in that one where they can just walk right up it?
No, I beat the shit out. You can't kill the horse.
Oh, what?
So not only can the horses not go up vertically, but I also can't murder my horse. So, there's that. So what I was getting into is I climbed to the top of this mountain. What's that?
Major fallacy in that. You should always be able to kill your horse.
Yeah, I know, right? I need that horse meat. But so I climbed to the top of this mountain, and I didn't really know where to go, so I just like picked one random spot, and I started gliding over that way, and of a valley where there was a river, and I was like, oh, okay, like the walls were high enough on both sides that I couldn't climb out, but so the one thing is on the beach next to me there was a raft, and I was like, okay, I guess I'm supposed to like use this to float down the river. But I tried to push the raft. You can't like. I still have to learn some things, obviously, but I couldn't push the raft. I couldn't figure out how to use it. But there's this move where you can summon ice cubes from the water, or like big ice blocks.
Oh, that's cool.
So I was able to summon that to like kind of rock it into the water a little more. And like you can't swim down the river because swimming takes stamina, so you would die. Like I had to take this raft. And like this is kind of like a extremely detailed story of just like 5 minutes playing of the game, but it's just cool that like I jumped to this area. Now I'm trapped in this valley. Oh, but there's a raft here, and I can take the raft. Like, it's cool that it felt like my own personal adventure.
Yeah, your own story.
Yeah, it wasn't just like... I've played World of Warcraft before, where it's just like, go to here, and then, like, obviously you go...
Oh,
like,
no, these random people are attacking now.
Well, not even that, but, like, if you go to like, Strongthorn Vale or something, or whatever it's called, if you go from one area to another, it's... You explore the areas around you, but you don't... Or you go to areas... You go to different regions, but you don't really explore them too much.
Yeah.
You follow the path. Like, there's a difference between moving around in Skyrim and moving around in World of Warcraft. Like, there's actual things to do in Skyrim. The same way that Breath of the Wild, like, even though there's not, like, a fuck ton of quests that I've currently run into in the game, it's more just, like, situational things. Like, this raft, I kind of had to take this raft, and it was cool to like, oh, now I'm just, going down the river, and like there's fish in the water, so like I had nothing else to do because the raft is moving, like 2 miles an hour. Yeah. So I would jump into the river, like catch a bunch of fish, and then like climb back up, and I was just like fucking like fishing with my hands for like a good 5-10 minutes while I was on this raft. It was just like a cool experience. So like it's cool that they have like situational exploration is how I'm going to describe it. As Skyrim kind of forced you to certain areas with quests, Legend of Zelda just legitimately like, oh, there's this massive fucking 50-foot ogre here, and I've run into this where he's sleeping, and I was like, yeah, maybe I can take him.
I'm gonna fuck his shit up.
So like I start like doing a little bit of damage. I'm like, okay, this is good. And then he like gets up and just like kicks me and I die immediately. And I was like, okay.
I just love these stories. It's like, it always makes me wonder, like, are we the bad guys in every fucking game? Because here's some guy just taking a nap and you're just like, I'm gonna kill this guy.
Yeah. No, I totally got that impression too. I was like, I want to kill this guy he's probably got something good on him, he's big.
Yeah. If he's just there sleeping, doing nothing wrong.
At the very least, he's got a lot of meat that I can make into food.
It's like, I want to...
Sadistic as fuck, Legend of Zelda.
It's like, here's like sensual being here and just taking a nap in the middle of nowhere. I'm just gonna fuck his shit up now so I can eat him.
The coolest thing about Legend of Zelda is in the details, though. Like the fact that you don't just jump on the raft and you like hit A to undock or something. Like I had to use the physics engine to rock it into the water.
Yeah.
The other thing too is about this ogre that I fought. I mean, he's fucking huge. He takes up the a good chunk of the screen. And he I fought him a couple times until I realized this was a completely useless effort.
Right.
But I died immediately when he first kicked me one time, and then a second time, like I tried to kite him away from me and like keep my distance and use arrows, and he just picks up a tree, rips it out of the ground, and just pummels me to death. And I was like, holy shit, that's awesome. Like,
that's great.
The game just surprises you with the things that you can do, which is easily the most fun about Zelda. Like, I also have never gone into like exploring what the game offers, so I guess I'm a little more like surprised by what it can offer.
Yeah.
I mean, there's games like Skyrim where I watched every single trailer I could before the game came out, and I mean, Skyrim's a great game, don't get me wrong, but it was definitely like everything that I expected to do, I could do, and everything that I didn't expect to be able to do, I couldn't.
Right.
Does that make sense?
No, exactly. Like, you think, like, in Skyrim, there's a lot of things that you thought you'd be easily able to do, or something would be able to do, and it just doesn't work, or it just freaking glitches the hell out and just looks ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, like, if you shoot a bear with an arrow in Skyrim, the bear's gonna come at you, and he's gonna attack you and hit you with your claws. A moment, like, in The Legend of Zelda, a moment that if you, like, shot something, if you shot a bear in A Legend of Zelda, I'm not saying that there is, but in terms of, like, what you expect and what you get, Skyrim is exactly what you expected to get in that game is what you got. If you shot a bear in The Legend of Zelda and you had to get away from the bear and you climbed up the tree, the game would surprise you enough that the bear would fucking climb up the tree with you. Like, it's that much more immersive.
I think the giant is exactly the best example, too, because, like, in Skyrim, you would hit a giant and you just hide behind trees from it, just make it run around trees and all that, because these trees are permanently set in the game. He can't go through it even if he wants to. Yeah. But in Legend of Zelda, he just picks a fucking tree out of the fucking ground and just hits you with it.
Yeah, like...
That's the stuff that you don't expect.
It was just really refreshing. The game feels really refreshing.
And it just makes me more excited to play, because that's what I've been hearing a lot lately. Just the stuff that you're able to do in the game. My favorite thing is when people just, like, just take a rock they see and then just use this gravity thing they get, anti-gravity thing, just launch a rock up and they just grip onto it and just fly with it.
Yeah, there's a move where you can, like, it's called magnesis, but it's like magnetism. Like, you can lift up certain objects in the game that are made of metal. And, like, you can use it as, like, a counterweight, which I've done a couple times, awesome. Actually. You can use it to like pummel enemies and stuff. It's just really cool that everything that you can do in the game.
That's what I really love about games, that like I don't really care much. Like, I more like games that are smaller maps and stuff, or more design maps that give you the ability to achieve something in multiple ways, and like these open worlds where usually there's like only one way to do it in the end.
Yeah.
And that's why I really like the idea of that's what I'm really excited about the Breath of the Wild is that there's so many ways you can play the game, and it's totally successful. It's totally fine. And that way you can, like you said before, is that you have more easier time making your own story in the game and all that stuff. And it'll be different from how other people do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I think first impressions, it kind of plays out exactly as you would expect a Zelda game. I'm not,
Yeah.
and that's not underselling it. A normal Zelda game is great.
Yeah, they usually do fucking fantastic.
But as you move into the game and you start getting more and more of these experiences that you would never have expected in your wildest dreams, I mean, people just have characteristics and traits. Monsters do things that surprise you. The world offers you like legitimately challenging puzzles in The Legend of Zelda. I mean, typically it's like grab the mini key or grab the small key in the dungeon, go to the dungeon door that has the lock on it. I am legitimately getting confused in some of these dungeons.
Oh, that's so cool.
Like there's the fact that you can use physics or you can use like raw power, like just brute power against other enemies. The fact that you can like move things with your hands or lift it up with the magnet ability. Like there's and then there's also like the frozen water ability and stuff. You have to combine all these things in such an interesting manner that actually I have had to check out a strategy guide online once or twice, which I can say I've never ever done before in a Zelda game.
You mean the strategy guide you got with the game?
No, that strategy guide was shit. Explorer's Edition is totally not worth it.
I laughed so hard when I looked through that. It's really just like an advertisement for all the crap to buy.
It is. And they even talk about like DLC and stuff.
It literally tell you nothing about the game. I thought it was the dumbest thing ever. How do you play the game with the controller wise? Do you do it like freehand with the two things in your hands, or do you use connect them to that controller thing that comes with the Switch?
Yeah, I like to plug it into my home screen. I think that Legend of Zelda, I mean, they do a good job with like keeping the menu relatively or keeping the screen relatively not busy with like health and stuff like that.
So you use the free controller thing that comes with it?
Well, I was gonna say.
Oh, sorry.
Even though they keep it relatively clean, I still think it's hard to like focus with. I'd rather read text and like look through my inventory and stuff when it's on a bigger screen. So with that in mind, I don't mind playing at console or on like as a handheld. But I much rather appreciate it when it's on a big screen.
No, yeah, and what I meant though is like when you're playing on the big screen, do you have like the two controllers separated, or do you use that controller thing that comes with?
Oh yeah,
slide the thing in.
I don't use them separately. I use them in the same like where they click into that.
Yeah, the free one you get. The thing, how's that feel in your hand? I haven't used it yet. I'm surprised I haven't used it yet.
I like it.
It feels comfortable and that stuff? Okay, cool.
I mean, it's not as comfortable as like a PS4 or an Xbox controller.
I mean, PS4 and Xbox just fucking nailed it, so.
But I think I think it's more comfortable than people give it credit for.
Okay, yeah. Like, I've been wanting to try it, but every single time I'm playing, I'm usually watching something on TV, so I'm just playing, like, Mario 8 in handheld form. So I was like... Because, like, I'm really just kind of... I'm really weird when it comes to that. I always want to be watching something as in playing games. So, like, the Nintendo Switch has been just great for me. I've been loving that feature. Just been having something on TV and playing on the hand on the couch.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's just... I don't know. It's just been a really refreshing console so far. It's been kind of fun, kind of, like, re-exploring it with you, I guess.
Yeah, I've just been fucking loving it so much, especially after our last time we hung out together in a group.
Yeah, speaking of which, let's get to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Edition, because that game is incredible.
That game is so much fun. It is like Mario 64, but it's just good. It's just fun.
It's just good.
And there's nothing else. Like, it's Mario Kart. Like, what is there to fully explain? The levels, each level is beautifully designed. They're fun. The drifting speed boost is easy to use and it's effective. And if you guys like, I just want to explain one thing about the coins, which is the fun here to look it up. So the coins work like this: when you pick up a coin, it increases your speed all the way up to when you have 10 coins. But when you pick them up it still gives you an additional little boost for a second.
This is such a weird spot to start with.
I know, I'm just saying, but everyone knows about the darn coins, and it's been driving me crazy until I finally looked it up, because no one knew about the darn coins.
Clearly Mike had an agenda when we brought up Mario Kart 8. He's like, I'm talking about those fucking coins.
I just want to get those out of the way, because it was just really pissing me off.
Alright.
Like, every single time like I've asked them, they go like, I don't know. And I just had to finally look it up.
So, what I wanted to mention, Mike, I own the game on both the Wii U and the Nintendo Switch.
10 times better than Nintendo Switch because you can actually have 2 items.
Well, yeah, so I'm going to say the differences with the Deluxe Edition versus the normal is that, yeah, you can have 2 items, kind of like old school Mario 64, where you had to cheat, where you had to drag one item behind you, but you can have an item pretty much on standby. Nintendo Switch is awesome in the or the Deluxe Edition is awesome in the sense that it gives you 2 slots to pick up 2 weapons, and you can always have one on standby. Essentially,
Yeah.
It sounds like such a small thing, but it makes the world of difference.
But if you do have like your item, that if you're like holding the trigger, so your item's out, it still counts as your slot. So if someone uses ghost on you, they can still steal that item from you then, even if you're holding it down.
Yeah,
Which is interesting. I don't know if I'm really a fan of that, but it's like once again, it's one small thing.
I'm not too worried about it. Let's see other things about it. The deluxe edition, it offers 8 additional maps, two different cups, 2 additional cups on top of the regular version. Offers some new characters. It generally just all around, and then also just being on the Nintendo Switch, like it's totally a party game. It makes sense that it's on the Switch. Like it's, not that anyone's gonna go out and buy Mario Kart 8 on the Wii U right now because the system's canceled, and if you don't already own that on the Wii U, then what are you doing with your life?
Yeah.
But the deluxe edition, it's not just like a copy paste game. Like legitimately, even though a lot of the stuff is DLC that's just added in for free, like the Nintendo Switch just makes it a whole new experience on its own.
Yeah.
Another thing I want to talk about the game, and this is now consistent things in the Wii U and the Nintendo Switch, but Mario Kart 8 has incredible multiplayer games.
Oh yeah, they're so much fun.
We were playing more multiplayer games than we were playing racing. Last time we hung out, we were like, I mean, what are the games? There's the Cops and Robbers one.
So, which is my favorite one. And Cops and Robber is, to explain that one, is that it splits it up to 2 teams. One teams are the cops, which they have this one item permanently with them, which is
They have the piranha plant attached to the front of their car. And if you get close, like all the robbers have to do is just evade.
Yeah.
But if you get close to a cop, the piranha plant just immediately grabs them and eats them, and then they get put into jail.
Which is in the map, and then people can unlock them from the jail. Like the robbers can unlock their own alleys from the jail. Mm-hmm. And the main goal from the robbers is at least have one person not in jail when the timer runs out, and obviously the coppers is to have everyone in jail before the timer runs out.
Yeah, and like we don't have to spend too much time explaining each one.
No,
I think that's a pretty general.
The rest of them are pretty straightforward. That's the only one that's like not straightforward at all when you bring it up.
Yeah, I like the bomb one quite a bit.
Yeah, the bomb one is basically balloon battle, but everyone just gets bombs every single time they pick up an item.
Yeah, you don't get all the items. You just get bombs, and you can get as far as I can tell, you can get an infinite amount of bombs to hold. So every time you hit a item box, it just gives you a bomb immediately. And the longer that the timer goes on, like the closer that you get to the end of the time, the more and more blocks appear. If you notice this.
I actually didn't notice that.
Yeah, so like single item box turn into doubles.
Oh, that's cool.
Yep, in the last like 30 seconds or something. And so pretty much it's just everyone constantly throwing bombs everywhere.
Of course, I never threw them because like if you throw them forward, they blow up instantly. So all I do is just drive around, just drop them behind me everywhere I went. Because like you could easily just pick up another bomb and be like, all right, that goes behind me. So if anyone's following me or if they just came across my bomb, I'd just like shoot up at points ridiculously high.
Yeah, that one's my favorite. The other ones are generally floating around the same like battle or deathmatch kind of thing.
It's balloon battle. There's another one, but just all the items in it.
Mm-hmm. And then there's all the racing, 100, 150.
And then there's coins, too, where just the person with the most coins at the end of the round wins.
Yeah. Either way, though, I mean, like...
They're all fun. All the levels are fun to play in.
Yeah. If you played Mario 64, like, people would normally just race, for starters. And if you were feeling, like, really diversifying in that game, you would play Balloon Battle. Like this, It's cool that they offer not only just like one great game, but multiple awesome games.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's just like it's a complete party game.
I love Cops and Robber the best too because that's a great one just if you want to play with people because computers really good in Cop and Robbers because it's pretty straightforward. All you do is capture each other or release yourselves from jail. And the AI in that's really good, and honestly, and I'll be totally down just to verse AI with friends and stuff.
Yeah, but no, I mean, so that's kind of been our week. But Mario Kart 8, very good. The other thing that I wanted to bring up now, but we can get into later, is that over the break I saw a sale on Oculus Rift, and I decided to pick up a virtual reality headset. And I mean, once again, we don't have to get into it too much, but that's going to take place. That's going to take place of our news story after we get through our top 5 and stuff.
That was good times.
Yeah. Actually, so I had a bunch of people over yesterday. We had like 6 people over, and I've got like a dozen games for it that we can go through. And I mean, we just had like a game day essentially. When we weren't playing virtual reality, we were playing Mario Kart. Like it was a pretty sweet day. But I mean, unless you had anything else, we could totally get into our
No,
top
yeah,
five
that
here.
was it. Because like I said before, the holidays was really just me spending times with my loved ones and all that. So I didn't get much into gaming news or anything like that, and that's pretty much the same with everyone else too. So, but yeah, we can go to our top five now. The game of the years.
Yeah.
Which was actually a lot harder for me than I thought it was gonna be for for this one we did a more unique turn on it. It's not really games that just came out this year. It's just games that we played this year.
Yeah, that's definitely the one big thing to note is I'm always like 1 year behind on my games because I mean
There are just so many that come out. You just can't keep up. And this week actually, I'm gonna be playing games that have been out for a while now, but I just want to play them now.
Yeah, and more importantly from that as well is that the games are discounted. You know, like obviously we're like as currently like we're not making any money from this podcast. Like,
Yeah, we're not.
We're looking for discounted games like everyone else.
Well, good discounted games, and that's
We're looking for the
usually
cheap
games
shit.
that have been out for a while now and all that, or not even out for a while. Just we look for sales and all that.
The bargain bin. No.
We're not like other people that do this for a living where they get free cuts and stuff. So we are limited to our abilities.
And so like even though these games might have come out even this year or previous years or something, like it's games that we figured were a good deal, had some good hype or reviews about them. So I'm going to have some games on this list from this year. I'm going to have some games on this list from previous years. You know, it's kind of a free-form situation going on right now. But it's just things that I have played this year specifically.
And as normal formulas, we do our bottom threes trade up, and then we do our seconds trade up, and then we do our final one. I believe last time Ben started, so I'm going to be starting this time.
Yeah, go for it.
My number 5 is Diablo 3. Ben got a group together to replay it, and when I first played Diablo 3 with everyone, I was never fully into Diablo 2 either. I kind of joined that one late. When I played Diablo 3, I didn't even fully like it. It was more just fun to play with my friends, all that stuff. But man, like, the reason why Diablo 3 is on this list is mostly just for just a game company that have finally just focused on fixing a game of theirs, because all the changes they made, holy crap, that game was fun to play.
Yeah.
It just became stupid addictive, and even when I just played by myself, like, just how they realized they actually listened to their audience and stuff and just focused on that, and they did it. They nailed it. And I even give them credits too, because like they kept on saying, like, oh yeah, don't worry, we're going to bring out PvP. We're going to do PvP. And yeah, no one really wanted that, and they just dropped that and just focused on the changes that people wanted in the end. And Diablo 3, just like, I was just so impressed with that. I think I've never really seen that in many games where developers go back and just rewrite the whole game almost and just change the whole entire gameplay to it. And it just blew me away, and I had so much fun replaying it. I'm not playing it anymore now, but I can easily just jump back into it and start working on my Witch Doctor again to just make more suits of armor for him and stuff to make him better.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a couple things I want to add, but since Mike ended on that note, like Mike, Diablo 2 came out in 2000, in the year 2000.
Oh, really?
18 years ago now. They had an update for that game just last year. Like,
no way.
That's the thing. The Blizzard is pretty fucking good with just like always keeping their shit updated. I mean, 17 years ago, Mike, like we were less than 10 years old.
And they're still updating that one.
Yeah.
It is just nuts. And like, man, it's like props to Blizzard. I give them like, I don't play all their games, and that's just because I'm not usually into the style of games they make, but that's not a knock on them. Because they make good games for for their audience, and props to them just to keeping those games going.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times, and mostly it helps too, because they're just a large company too, and most of their games are sometimes subscription based, so it helps out a bit. But it's just like, damn, just bravo to them on Diablo 3, just taking for me, not a really good game and just making it just great.
Yeah.
And really just fun.
Out of all the larger companies of video games, I think that Blizzard Entertainment will constantly and forever, or consistently and forever, get my praise for just polish. I don't think I know of any other gaming company that puts as much polish into a game as Blizzard does.
Yeah.
They've got a few IPs in comparison to a lot of other companies, Overwatch, Diablo, StarCraft, World of Warcraft, but I mean, they just go hard into those games.
Yeah, and I'm not much even a loot collector kind of guy. Like what do they call these type of games?
Like a lootathon.
A lootathon, yeah. Like I don't know if that's there's another name for it, I believe, for the games like these. When you just get loot, the main focus is to get better equipment and all that stuff. Is it called lootathon?
I mean, it's called a couple things. I can't think of what
Yeah,
the
I
term
remember.
specifically is.
Yeah, exactly. I remember you said it once. I thought it was a good term for these type of games. I usually don't get into much of these, but Diablo 3 just got hooked me into a game where they really just fixed it. So yeah, that's why it's my number 5. Mostly because also it's like not high on the list because once again, like I'm not fully into these games, but just major props to them and all that stuff. My number 4 is Little Nightmares. I brought up this game before in a few past podcasts.
Yeah.
But this game was just one of those things I'm obsessed about. I love to death. I love the art style. I love the hidden story in the back. The gameplays. I love the mechanics of the game. It's one of the few platformer games that is kind of on the side that's actually easy to navigate through. The controls are just like in other terms, the controls are just tight in the game. The design is beautiful. I love the other characters you see, and the background of all that stuff tells its own story, which is wonderful, and it's just so beautifully drawn. And this coming year, I'm obviously gonna be buying the DLC. I'm gonna buy their DLC pack because apparently they have 2 out, and there's 1 more coming out, and I want to get their DLC pack before it does because I'll get like a slight discount.
I'm surprised that this game is number 4. I'm very excited to hear about your next 3 because you hyped the fuck out of this game in our previous podcasts.
It just because of see, this list is very hard for me, and I think the lives are pretty close, but just because Little Nightmares, even though how much I love it, it is also just a very simple game though, and that's why it's not too high up in my thing. And the ones up are a bit more exotic, or
like
there's
complicated, or
more
so.
complicated, or they have much more deserve of credit too as well. But everything is really close together, and it was actually a lot harder for me to make this list than I thought it was going to be. And once again, even though like Little Numbers is a number 4, it's still in the top 5, and it was actually kind of hard for me to set these in certain orders in the end because I picked the 5 games I wanted to talk about, and that's when I started focusing on where to put them in. And it wasn't really easy, especially for my number 2. I'm not fully excited for it, but it's still like I had to give it to where it's at and all that stuff, just for how much I had to go through and all that stuff, and just for its compliments too. And so that's my number 4. And my number 3 is kind of a twofer, but it's Mansion of Madness. And Mansion of Madness is a board game, actually. I don't know if that's okay with you putting into it, or do you want to do video games? Because if that's not okay with you, I have actually a second for it, which is exactly the same thing.
I guess we didn't explicitly say video games, so you can kind of hit the ball into the left field here if you want to.
I guess I would switch over to Tabletop Simulator. Tabletop Simulator would be because you can play Mansion of Madness on it, but it's just like Mansion of Madness is on there because it's like a D&D game. It just was a fun board game for everyone to play, and it's like D&D but so simplified that anyone can get into it. And it just like even my girlfriend who doesn't really play many board games, she was just fully into it. She keeps on hounding me to play it over and over again. And for me, it's just like it's a great game for everyone to join in, and it's just like one of those very few things that surprised me. And it's you run off your computer where there's a computerized tabletop simulator person that does it for you.
The computer takes the role of the dungeon master.
Yeah, and because like I've always wanted to get into D&D, and I always found that this game is a great way to teach people how like kind of D&D is played out and all that stuff. And it's a great way because every time you play it, it's your own way of playing it in the end, because like you play with different people, you play with the same people that kind of I don't know why it very surprised me, took me back. It made me really enjoy board games like even more to just show me how much they can offer too. And I put kind of Tabletop Simulator next to it because Tabletop Simulator is a great way to enjoy these games even more because it simplifies. It takes out all the annoying nit bits of just putting the pieces down, all that stuff, and just having space for it. And they make just things even easier. Because what's a board game you have that's similar to Mansion of Madness?
Betrayal at House on the Hill.
Betrayal at the House on the Hill, which runs freaking amazing on Tabletop Simulator. And that made that game even 10 times better. And Tabletop Simulator is next to it because, once again, it has all these board games that you can have easy access to play with other people that maybe you can't even reach anymore because they live in a different state or, they're so far away from you and all that. And yeah, so I guess it's more of like just board games, and maybe this year has just been really good. But it's kind of a weird one because, like I said, it's like one of those things I want to get mentioned to. It's really weird, I know.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised. I mean, from how much you talked about Little Nightmares, you were talking about like speed running that, for example. I
Yeah,
remember.
I'm still planning on doing that because there's an achievement to beat it under like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
I think the achievements you have to beat under 2 minutes and 30 seconds, and you cannot die.
You mean 2 hours or something?
No, it's like
Little Nightmares?
Little Nightmares.
Beat it in 2 minutes?
It's like something like that. They said like 2 minutes or like 5 minutes or something like that. They say you can easily run. Like it's like I know like it's less than an hour, I believe, and it's like hair splitting to get it. And I have to recheck the time. Obviously, it's not 2 minutes. Obviously, that's stupid. But it's like all I remember is it's hairpin thin apparently, and you have to beat it less like in an hour for sure. And so that's how quick you can beat the game once you know how to run through it. But that's my main goal is to get all the achievements in it, and that's like one of the last ones that you get for without the DLC.
Either way, I'm just interested. Like,
Yeah, it just I don't know why it just.
So I guess here's the thing: is
Yeah.
Mansions of Madness. How many times have you played it? Because it was great.
3 times so far.
Yeah, like I was definitely fully impressed with it too.
Yeah,
But no, I mean just to only play it 3 times and have that big of an impact on your entire year, like that's incredible.
No, and that's why it's on my number 3 because it's like it reimaged to me of like what's actually a really interesting game. It surprised me as well, which is why it's higher on my list. It's something that's like, holy crap, this is super innovative, and it's like it was so creatively put together and all that stuff. It was super easy to do, even with my girlfriend who doesn't play many board games or video games. She easily understood and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And there was just so much depth to it that was great and just easy to get through. And the design of the whole board, it was so well made. And that's why it's also number 3, too, for that alone.
Sure.
And like you said, it left that big of an impression on me. And it's like, damn. And like, even my friend, she still wants to play it. And I still want to play it. We just have to find time to play it and all that stuff. And now since I'm home more often, we're going to be playing the game a lot more often. And we like to get more people involved. Like, I definitely want you to be over, too, when we actually have more than just me and her. I like to get like a group in on it.
Yeah, for sure. And I was also going to say, too, like, I mean, we're going to get to virtual reality in a little bit, but
Yeah.
even though I haven't played a ton of virtual reality games, I've still played the ones that I have for a couple hours, and like it makes a huge impact on you because it's just a completely new experience. I think that Mansions of Madness also falls into that category where it's such a great marriage of board game and video game that like it's just completely, it feels so refreshing.
Yeah.
So I was critical of your decision before, but
No, I appreciate it.
I'm
I
thinking
realized when I
about
was saying that, I appreciate your rhetorical on it because it helped me actually organize it better to make more sense. Because I was saying it the first time, it didn't make much sense why this was higher than Little Nightmares and all that stuff. But like with that, it really helped me actually to solidify my point and all that.
yeah, it was completely something different. Which I mean, a game is an experience, you know. That's all we can look
and
for.
I absolutely love the experience that it gives me and the experience I can have with other people. And I know it's always going to be different because there's so many things that can happen that change the experience, especially with when there's more players into it. Mm-hmm. But so yeah, those are my bottom 3. Number 5 is Diablo 3 for just being great and just actually refixing our whole entire game to make it incredibly fun.
Addictive as fuck.
Yeah, I know, right? Fuck me. Little Nightmares for just being a wonderful, tight fit, beautifully made, simple platformer game. And then Mansion of Madness for just, like you said, just making just a huge step forward with combining board games with computers and all that stuff for making an in-depth game.
Yeah, innovation.
Yeah, just bravo on that alone. And to have it work perfectly, too.
Yeah. Okay, I can get to mine here. So my number 5 is Cuphead.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was a really good game. Obviously, everyone talks about the aesthetics, so I guess I'll start there because it's the most obvious thing to say about the game is just like it looks great. The soundtrack is fantastic. Soundtrack's probably one of the best parts about the game. Like I made a video about this for one of my YouTube channels, and like when I was looking back through all the sounds, it like brought me back to playing that world for the first time or playing that boss. I was like, oh, it's so cool. Like I mean, there's certain games that have a really good soundtrack. Like Bastion has a really good soundtrack. Now that I've said that, I can't think of anything else right now. Transistor, I'll just stick with that company. But like Cuphead, totally. I mean, they do like the big band kind of sound, you know, like an orchestral soundtrack. It's just really cool that music. It's not the most in style right now, and it still like had a pretty big impact on like how much it brought to the game. You know,
Yeah.
Like you were talking about the second to last boss, Dice Head. Like he's got his own personal song. It's like, Mr. Dice Head.
So good.
Yeah, like the fact that I can recall that 4 months from when I played the game, or 3 months from when I played Cuphead initially, is wild, you know?
I just love going to the near. It's like, oh yeah, because I could just walk in Dice Head's area before he says, like, oh, you can come in here. It's like, yeah, I'm like, get your song again. Let's do it.
Yeah, I mean, like, so aesthetics, I'll just start with that. It's really good. The combat is, I mean, the gameplay itself is just like a boss rush game, but the combat specifically, there was nothing too specific, there was nothing too glowing about it, but at the same time, it was kind of cool that they, like, stuck with what they knew, and, just kind of kept like the basics in there. Like I don't mind when bosses are sponges necessarily. I know that's a big problem for a lot of people, but pretty much like the feeling that like you had to survive through this boss and like you couldn't just quickly murder him. Like it was taking, like
well, it's like a boss rush game, so it's obviously, that's why they're sponges. They have to take a lot of hits for being bosses and all that stuff.
Yeah, how bosses did like 3 different tiers of attacks. I mean, everything about it was just awesome. It was a really good game in general. Top 5 game of the year, Cuphead. Number 4 is PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds. I thought that game was awesome. I mean, it's obviously still awesome.
Yeah.
Just super fun game to play with friends. I get super fucking pissed off when I'm like in a. I like to be kind of, what's the word where you like flip flop a little bit, I guess. Hypocritical. Sometimes I like to play super serious. Sometimes I just like to kill my teammates.
Yeah.
And like, so I'm a little hypocritical about this because if someone's not in the same mindset that I'm in when I play that game, if I'm fucking around and someone's like, no, grab that gun, we're going, like it totally takes me out of the game. So like PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds, it's fantastic. It's really good. But I am very, very particular about my online games. So that's why, even though I can't stop giving this game praise, I think that the only issue that I have with PlayerUnknown Battleground in terms of like how the game was made is just I think it could use a little more aesthetics. Like I think I mentioned this critique before, but like when you open a door, your character doesn't like grab the door handle and open it. It just kind of like swings open. Mm-hmm. When you pick up ammo or anything or wherever, like if it's on a shelf, if it's on the floor, whatever, it's the same animation for grabbing it. Getting in and out of a car, you just teleport in and out. Mm-hmm. Like it still feels like a beta game. It doesn't have the polish that we talk about when we talk about like Diablo or like Blizzard games. So that's the only criticism I have about the game, and it's fantastic and I love it. The only thing that's the only mechanics criticism I have. And the only thing that I have personally about it is just like I'm very particular about multiplayer games.
No, which makes sense. I totally get you for why.
So it makes the list, but at the same time, I haven't touched the game in like 2 months. Yeah. But I still love like watching streams and stuff. Whenever my friends are playing it, like I just love hearing like how they did and whatnot. It just creates a lot of fun talk. I guess is a good way to describe it. So number 4 goes to PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds. Number 3 is Hollow Knight. I thought Hollow Knight was a fantastic game. Hollow Knight is a Metroidvania-style 2D exploration adventure, I guess, kind of. And
it's you get a huge map, and then you have to explore it with no real direction, and you basically have to find out. You only get access after you do certain things, get certain upgrades, and defeating certain bosses.
Yeah, so Hollow Knight, I thought it was just a very fresh idea for one. I mean, as we've talked about movies before, like our last podcast, we were talking about originality. Like, that's going to continue to be a constant theme moving forward, I'm pretty sure. Just, if you have an original idea, that goes far. So, Hollow Knight just felt very refreshing, I guess. The combat system was basic, but there was a lot of, there was enough dodging, and there was enough evading, and there was enough attacking and abilities, and special abilities that it wasn't overly complicated, but at the same time, it was still very challenging and very rewarding.
They took very simple mechanics and made it, they expanded on it very well to a point that it was easy to understand, and even though things were simple, you can do incredible things with those simple mechanics.
Yep. The issue that I did have with Hollow Knight was that at times it felt like there was a lot of redundancy of just figuring out what to do next, but at the same time, that kind of comes with the territory.
Yeah.
That is a Metroidvania.
I hit the wall there. I hit one, so I haven't finished it yet because I hit one of those walls, and I was kind of like, ugh, not again. It was like kind of got me a little bit frustrated. And I still need to finish it, sadly. But it's not a knock on the game one bit. It's, once again, it's the Metro style type of game to expect. And I was going into expecting it. It just like it kind of just hit me kind of hard, and like things got me distracted, sadly, from it.
Yeah, but otherwise, I mean, it's a cool game. I like the progression a lot. If you ever hit a wall like that, I mean, I did a couple times where I just like had to look up a walkthrough.
Yeah.
That's the simple solution, is just find a walkthrough. Like it's not a game to me that if I got frustrated, I was like, fuck this, and I like, uninstall it and throw away the controller. Like it's a game that if it feels unfair, if the story or the progression feels unfair, it's an easy fix, You just look up a walkthrough.
Yeah, that's why I first about too. Is like when I fought bosses and when I died, I never it was the game's fault. It always felt like it was my fault in the end, which I appreciate about the game. Most of the stuff that killed me was like, all right, I obviously did something wrong there. It wasn't the game.
And then on top of that, I mean, I could probably for PUBG as well for support. I mean, Mike mentioned it with Diablo 3, but Hollow Knight, they've been releasing free DLC because if I remember correctly, it was a Kickstarter campaign, and so they released like a bunch
big enough as it is. Like that game's already huge when it first came out. Like,
yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
but so they made a bunch of new bosses. I tried it out a little bit. The first DLC. They're releasing, I think, 2 or 3 more, something along those lines. And I mean, it's just it's just cool that I mean, Shovel Knight, they did the same thing.
Yeah.
Shovel Knight moved into Treasure Trove.
Love Shovel Knight.
Hollow Knight is pretty much doing that. It's going the same path of like, if you got it early, this is showing our thanks, and like that. It's cool that that's like so much. I mean, if you're a company who's like, let's give away our product for free, like it's so cool that they're doing that.
It's so refreshing. It kind of catches you off guard a lot of times.
Yeah, like we can just say thanks for doing that, but I mean, that feels so undervalued to what they're doing. They're
especially nowadays.
Yeah, they're taking weeks and months into this project, and then just giving away the product for free essentially because you bought the base game at like 80% off on a Steam sale. Like that. Props to them. I don't know. It's just a
you don't
really
see
cool
that
thing.
stuff anymore. It's so nice when you do.
So those are my lower end threes. Cuphead number 5, PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds number 4, Hollow Knight is number 3, and then Mike, what do you got for your number 2?
My number 2 is kind of funny. It's actually PUBG.
Yeah.
I've been that game has a special place for me. Just because there used to be this old game I used to play called World War II Online, and that's when you actually fight off. It's a MMO game where it's a first-person shooter with vehicles, tanks, airplanes, and all that, but you fight across Europe. And a lot of times you didn't see much combat because the map was so big. But every single time you hit combat, you always had a story to tell. I remember like a classic one from that one is that I was decided to be a tank, and all of a sudden I was spawned next to 2 other people who were tanks. Like, hey, do you just want to be in our tank brigade? And I'm like, sure. And we were just driving around in the middle of nowhere, just like talking, just shooting the shit. And all of a sudden, like, we see in the mountain, the guy's like, oh shit, those are 2 tanks over there. They're not ours. They're the Axis. And so then all of a sudden this huge tank battle came out of nowhere, just us shooting across at them shooting at us, just like moving around that stuff. And we end up winning too without losing a single tank. And it's just a great thing just to have those stories. And that's what I got from PUBG. And I kind of like, when you say like you wish there was more animation in the game, I kind of disagree with it just because even like I like to play a more relaxed term of it. Like I don't really care that I don't actually win. I do try to win, but if I don't win, I can't play more for the experience. But I kind of appreciate that they kind of cut all the bullshit because everything moves a lot quicker then and a lot of stuff.
It wasn't necessarily my criticism of not winning though. It's more like sometimes I want to win, sometimes I'm more relaxed, and
I think it's just like I think if they start adding those stuff, I'd start yelling at characters like, get in the damn car! Don't open the door, just jump through the window or something like that. I see myself doing that, or if he's trying to pick something up, I'd rather just be instantly in my thing and on me instead of me just yelling, get those damn pants on, dude, come on.
I don't know. After playing Legend of Zelda, like aesthetics and people like polishing a game, it really makes me appreciate those small finer
which I enjoy in
details.
like single player games. I am a lot more forgiving in multiplayer games. Just because of especially in versus, and just because of like once again it is a competitive game. But to get back on the point though, like every time I played PUBG, I've always had great stories that come out of it. I've always had just like, of course we have not yet gotten chicken dinner yet. We've gotten close a lot of times, but even the times when we just get wasted early on, like we're not even on the top like half of the thing. Like I always come up with like this great experiences like playing with my friends and all that stuff and. once again, I also give it for PUBG for taking an idea that was already existing, because there were so many games just like it. Yet they're the ones that actually shot to the roof, because they reached 3 million players now or something like that.
I haven't been watching the statistics.
But yeah, they shot up and they just made a new record with the game and a lot of stuff where they're the highest playing thing. When that type of gameplay was already out there for so long, they were able to actually take it to a fine point and just find it where it's so good and fun to play. And that's why it's also just number 2, to break out of such a saturated market of its type of gameplay and actually make it to pass Dota, League of Legends, and CSGO, which have always been the dominating side every single time. Yet they're the ones that pull through, and that's why it's high on my list too, just because it's the game of the year. And I can see that I accept the criticism too that it is not a fully finished game, but I guess they're at 1.01. I guess they're calling it now, so I guess it's technically is finished. But they're still working on it, like Ben says, which I appreciate from them. So they're still trying to make it better and all that stuff. I mean, obviously, because they're making a buttload of money off of it, and they want to get more players on it. And they're still not even on the PS4 yet. And I've heard actually the console version is actually pretty good for a console version from a PC game.
Really, I've heard the exact opposite.
Oh, like I've heard I heard some complaints at first, but now I've been hearing lately that it's been actually pretty good so far. Because at first, I heard a lot in the beginning, but later on, I've heard that people say it's actually really good. It's not the best, of course, but once again, it's hard to be. The PC's always going to outmark a console no matter what. You're always going to have faster response because you're playing with a mouse instead of a controller and all that stuff.
There was frame rate issues and connectivity issues I heard about.
Yeah, I mean, that's something, yes, that blows. That's pretty important in PUBG.
I mean, maybe they fixed it. If you said that you've heard some more recent stuff.
Yeah, my stuff has been pretty recent, and I've heard some pretty good stuff. I heard the connective issues not been too good, but even with the PUBG on the computer, there's still connective issues. Because I played last week with some friends, and that's why I'm also excited to not be traveling more. I can play more PUBG. I've been dying to play this game all the time, but I would not play it on the road because I didn't want to bring down my team with this shitty connection, you know?
Yeah.
So now I can actually get into it and play more of it, and hopefully finally get a chicken dinner this year. Because I didn't get it last year. My main goal is to get it this one. And so once again, number 2 is PUBG for bringing back some good memories for, even though not winning, just always leaving with a story, some funny moment that I just love about video games. It makes me really excited and reminds me of just the good old times of just playing games. When after you're done playing, it's like, all right, I'm done. It's like, no, I remember this stuff. Like, I remember what happened, all that. So it gave me a story to tell other people who enjoy games.
Mike's getting PTSD from PUBG.
Yeah. God.
PUBG gave me PTSD
when I used to be in World War II.
Back in the day.
Yeah, and that was such a good game. That game is still online too. It looks like shit though, so I'd rather keep the good memories and stay off of it.
Sure.
But yeah, that's my number 2 is PUBG. What's your number 2, Ben?
We talked about it earlier, but Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Edition.
Nice.
I got it in July, I think. I got a Wii Switch or Nintendo Switch in July. And when I first got it, I played Mario Kart 8 all the time. And then, obviously, since we just started playing it again in the last couple of weeks, it's been good. But when I first got it, I beat all the levels. I thought it was awesome. I had a cousin that was coming to visit me here. And, I had just gotten the Switch. And so we were, going back and forth, playing multiplayer. We did everything. We did... We did competitive racing, we did the battle mode, we even did time trial, which was one of the most fun things ever.
Tell me about that, actually.
Yeah, there's one map called Excite Bike Arena, which is just a basic oval, but essentially, if you can shave off 1/10 of a second and make world record, or make a new record, I mean, that was so much fun to be just be like, hey, cuz, you want to see who's got the new high record now? I don't know. We just had so many times passing the controller back and forth where you'd just be like, oh, son of a bitch, he shaves off 0.05 seconds from my time. That motherfucker. There's just so many features to the game, and there's so many ways to play it. I really, because we already talked about it, I don't have to get into it too much here, but yeah. I mean, it was just an all-around fantastic game. I don't know. I haven't played any Mario Kart too prolifically aside from Mario Kart 64, and this game just going from Mario Kart 64 to Mario Kart 8, it's unbelievable how much they've improved.
And with the Switch's portability and with its easy thing just to play with multiple people, it just makes it 10 times better.
Yeah, so Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Edition is my number 2. And then now we're getting to number 1. Number 1 game of the year, Mike.
It's kind of surprising with your list and my list because my number 1 is a Cuphead, so I was just kind of flipped over. And mine is just, once again, Cuphead is number 1 just for... It was made by two brothers. And the game is... First of all, let me talk about the game. The game's controls are tight. The gameplay is a boss rush game, and it's my favorite boss rush game I ever played. I love the design of it. I love it that it's hand-drawn in classic cartoon form, which I remember growing up watching all that stuff. Every boss has been super unique. The music was just fantastic and great to listen to every single time. Because it was good because I had to face a lot of bosses over and over again. And thank God for the good music because otherwise I think I wouldn't be able to keep on going a lot of the times. Dice Head, once again, great freaking music, but my God, his boss level, I just wanted to throw my controller against the wall, versing him. Because he had the most unique boss fight I've ever played against any type of game I ever played. It was just super unique on how he played out to phrase them and all that stuff. And I just loved it for that. It really changed. Every single boss kind of had its own unique thing, new gameplay that you had to adjust to, which wasn't too hard. And I always felt the game was very fair. And once again, no reason why it's my top 5 is that everything was hand-drawn by them. Like, every single frame was hand-drawn and put into the game.
Well, okay, so this is something that I had to look up. Studio MDHR, the company, is consistent of the two brothers, of the Moldenhauer brothers. But animators, artists, writers, these are, these are programmers as well.
Okay.
These are other people. So the game, like, they did quite a bit. I'm showing Mike the Wikipedia here.
Right.
They did quite a bit, but there are programmers that did join.
I know that they didn't do the music. They actually hired one friend of theirs to do the music and all that stuff, which I think he did a fantastic job. Especially apparently that he wasn't experienced with jazz, but he nailed it fantastically.
Yeah, and what Mike is getting at, not one person to do all the music, but there was a composer.
Yeah, there was a composer, obviously.
Christopher Madigan.
He's been a composer. He's been a long friend of theirs, and he even said that he wasn't actually experienced with jazz, but he took it and just made some amazing soundtrack.
Yeah, what a good first try.
Yeah, exactly. It's just and that's why just everything they did just for a first try and everything, they did obviously say that they got a lot of help from assistants from their families and friends and other people, and it just these people just took this one idea and stuck with it because they even pushed back the date pretty far back from I remember when they said it was going to be coming out.
Yeah, this game was announced with the PS4's the PlayStation Network store when they were showing all the features that E3 4 or 5 years ago or something.
Right.
That's when this game was announced.
And it just it was just so good, and just the combinations they went to just for this game. And once again, it comes with Little Nightmares. The controls are simple but super tight, and all the abilities that you have. Honestly, I have to say though, some of the abilities in the games were kind of pointless, but all the other ones, a lot of them were a lot of fun to use and were great.
The horseshoe one felt like bullshit.
Yeah, the horseshoe one was BS. And the lob one, I thought I was going to be more straight up and down, which I thought was going to be more helpful against the B boss, but it was no. It was okay, so the homing shot. So I used the street shot, the shotgun, and the homing shot. And the only time I used the homing shot was the knee with the B level. But I heard a lot of people didn't like the shotgun. The shotgun was my favorite power-up to use, which I thought was kind of interesting.
I didn't use the shotgun, but I did use the lob a little bit. But so, I guess everyone's got their preference.
Exactly.
I've seen speedrunners use the horseshoe, so
No, exactly, which I thought was great about the game is that all the, they're all actually viable. For me, because I thought it was funny because I used the shotgun all the way through the game, except for the B woman, which I just used the homing shot. Mm-hmm. And I thought even with the final bosses, I had the shotgun and the straight shot. Used those all the way through the game, and that's why I gave the game a lot more credit for it too. Is oh wow, it's people are saying this sucks, but I actually made it through the whole game using it, not out of spite because it's something bad, but I actually personally liked using it. I thought it was actually very effective.
Yeah.
And that's another thing why Cuphead is great, is that there's multiple ways to actually even play a simple boss rush game. Unless you're obviously speedrunning it, then there's obviously some certain way to do it, but I'm not going to be competing in that game because I'll just get wrecked.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about that.
Yeah. But yeah, it's my number one.
Yeah.
What about yours, Ben? Very interested to hear this. Can't see your list from here.
I think that you're gonna be pleasantly surprised, and I'm surprised that this is my number one too. I didn't actually finish this game, but I put in enough hours into it that I probably have a good grasp on how it feels. It's not an indie game. My number one is Persona 5.
Oh wow, actually, yeah, that did catch me. I was surprised.
Yeah, well, it's a 100-hour long game, and I've put 70 hours into it. So even though I didn't beat it, I think I've got a pretty good grasp on the mechanics and everything. So I mean, I've put more into Persona 5 in terms of hours than I've put into probably all the other games on the list combined. So I'm going to go ahead and say, fuck you if you have a problem with it.
No, it's not my cup of tea. It's totally cool. I did not I would not enjoy playing that game on mine. That was fun watching you play that game.
It was immersive. I thought it was cool. The idea was...
I thought it was a bit too immersive. Going to school every fucking day.
I liked it a lot.
Yeah, a lot of people did like that. For me, I just never got that. But once again, like I said, it just wasn't my cup of tea. Continue, sorry.
Oh, it's fine. I mean, obviously, there is criticism with the game. It's an RPG. It's an anime RPG type of game. It's just what do they call it when it's the back and forth combat? It's
turn based.
Yeah, when it's turn based combat. Obviously that's gone out of style a lot since the last 10 or 15 years.
Fully a fan of the new version of it where you're locked in this arena and you run around just waiting for your stamina to go back up again.
Yeah, but I mean, the point is that they used kind of these older mechanics. There was a whole lot of talking and redundancy. But at the end of the day, the game was still, it's still my number one for a reason.
You got 70 hours in it, so.
Yeah, the point is every day it called me back to hear more and more about the story. And the only reason that I stopped is because I took a week for a break, and after that week I wanted to play something else. And by the time I got back around to the game having time for it, it was I don't even remember the story or where I was at specifically. Pretty much the only downfall about the game is that it was too long.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just fantastic. I was not expecting a JRPG to be my number one, but I was looking at the list, thinking it over, and it absolutely had to be. There's so much content in that game. Once again, kind of like The Legend of Zelda, it's overwhelming everything that you can do. When you are studying for a test, or when you're trying to build up your diet so you can eat a cheeseburger, it's weird. The game is
love the
weird.
burger challenge.
But that's the thing is they make these daily tasks kind of fun and rewarding. It's cool that we obsessed so much about a burger challenge,
I beat the burger, now I'm gonna beat you.
Yeah, we had jokes about the game. It was just a game that we talked about a bunch, and that's just you and me. The amount that I thought about the game and the amount that I tried to schedule. Okay, if I study this day, the next 2 days I'm gonna go combat. I'm gonna do combat and get my skill level up, and then this next day I'm gonna study. I'll take the test on the following day, and at the end of the week I'll fight the boss. I was planning a week in advance of how my schedule was gonna look, and
I'd be down to actually have what we said, some time to play that game to help you finish it. Because like I said, I don't like playing it, but it's fun to play with you though.
Maybe I've got to I would have to look at a walkthrough, not to figure out what to do in the game, but more or less just to refresh myself on where I'm at. In the story, I've got a general idea of what I was doing, but realistically, the further and further that you go in the game, the less and less relevant the bosses become to your character specifically. The first boss is a gym teacher at your school.
Yeah.
And then the second boss, it's slightly less related to your character, and then more so and more so, until you are fighting bosses that you've these are people that you've never met prior to fighting them, essentially. And it's really weird.
Are you the good guy in the end?
No, I murder people for a... Actually, yeah, I am a good guy. In that game, you are a good guy. I can definitively say that. Because everything that you kill is imaginary, essentially.
Oh, okay. Just getting people's lives and all that, the personal stuff.
Totally. Although, at the same time, you do dress in, tight leather and, masquerade masks. Who's to say that you're, maybe you're the good guy, but maybe you're just boning a bunch of your classmates in like this dream world wearing tight leather and shit.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Getting your kink off.
If you don't know what Persona 5 is, I feel like that's a really weird description to give without explaining the game.
I mean, honestly,
but
it's also a very weird game, too.
I'm not gonna describe the game. It would take an hour for me to just describe Persona 5, but it's your general basic RPG, JRPG.
Where you have a talking cat friend who turns into a car.
Yeah, there's also that as well.
That seriously happens.
So, yeah, Persona 5 is my number one. I really wish I could get around to it. I've actually heard Persona 4 is a better game, but I've never played any of the other Personas. I played a bit of
Persona 4. I don't remember anything about it, but it was interesting.
I mean, if you don't like the genre, then
Yeah, exactly. So that's why it never really sit with me. So that's when the fifth one came. I was like, I don't care.
Sure. But yeah, so my list going back from top to bottom is number 5 is Cuphead, number 4 is PlayerUnknown Battleground, number 3 is Hollow Knight, number 2 is Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Edition, specifically on the Switch. I think that just made an impact. That was like an entirely new experience.
Yeah.
And number 1 is Persona 5.
And then mine are Diablo 3, Little Nightmares, Mansion of Madness, just like yours, like a whole different experience, PUBG, and Cuphead.
Yeah.
Number 1.
So I had, honestly, so here was my thing, is I had a bunch of games. I had every game that I had ever played this year listed down. And when I buy a game or when I get invested into a game, I can pretty much guarantee I'm going to come out with a satisfactory feeling of accomplishment. Like the game, I already know I'm going to appreciate the game to some degree before I start it. So I have one honorable mention, but honestly I could have honorably mentioned every single game I played because they're all good. So sorry, I'm kind of hyping this up, but when I give this honorable mention, keep in mind, it's not just a game that I enjoyed, it's a game that I enjoyed so much that it could almost be synonymous with any of the top 5 here. But my honorable mention for 2017 is Wolfenstein: The New Order.
Oh, yeah.
It's a great game.
Is that the second one or the first one?
No, so I haven't played this. The new one is called, well, now I'm going to have to look it up. The New Order actually didn't come out this year.
Once again, we said, though, it's the games that we played this year, not what came out this year. I heard that the first one was really good, not only from you, but from other viewers. The second one I heard took a little bit of a hit, but that's also like a 50-50 one.
Okay, so the one that came out this year is called The New Colossus. I played The New Order, which I think came out a year or two ago. I can just look it up right now. But essentially, I got around to it a couple months ago, and it was just unbelievable. It was great. Yeah. Mike, did you have any honorable mentions or anything?
Yeah, mine, obviously, because I talked about what I did over this week, is Darkest Dungeon. The reason why it's not on the list is I'm not even halfway through it. I feel like I'm still learning more about it, but man, I've just been absorbed into it. I just want to know more about the game so badly. It's ridiculous. It's surprising, too, that it is turn-based, and I don't usually play many turn-based games, too, technically.
Oh, The New Order came out in 2014. That's insane. That's a 4-year-old game now.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah, so a little old. But
it's never too late to play a single player game.
Yeah, and definitely very rewarding, great game. On top of honorable mention, I did have one other category that I wanted to talk about here. So this is honorable DLC, and this is DLC that did specifically come out this year that kind of made me that re-sparked my love for a game, or re-sparked my love for a console game, PC game, whatever. But so my first honorable DLC, and this actually came out January 3rd of 2017, so it was like fresh.
Jeez, what's this DLC?
This is The Binding of Isaac Afterbirth Plus.
Oh, yeah.
And
you finally played it this year?
Yeah, I played it immediately. But what I mean is it came out January 3rd last year, so in 2017. Okay. So I've played this over a year ago now, being that we're recording this on January 7th.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it just barely made it because, 3 days prior it would have been in 2016.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it was a fantastic DLC. Honestly, anything with Binding of Isaac I'm going to give praise to. It's the one game on my Steam list that I've given the most hours to anything.
I think mine's the same too.
Yeah, Binding of Isaac, just a great game in general. The reason it's got its own category is, one, the game didn't come out specifically in 2017, but then also this is just the look of the DLC.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, obviously you can't play just the DLC. You have to play it with the original game.
Yeah.
So that's why it's in its entirely different category. The other honorable DLC is Call of Duty Zombie Chronicles. That was the Call of Duty for Black Ops 3 that had the 7 or 8 original maps, or just like maps that were like the most requested. That was like, that took up like my entire summer, or at least 2 months of my summer, where my friends and I would just get back from work, be like, hey, we doing some zombies? And like, fuck yeah, of course, dude, we're already playing,
Yeah, get on here.
So yeah, I mean, I've mentioned before, Nazi Zombies is probably my favorite co-op game with friends. And
Great memories.
And this just totally re-sparked that love for it. So those are my honorable DLCs.
And then, so yeah, that's our top 5s for this year. And then I don't really have any honorable DLCs that I can think of on the top of my head. Ben kind of caught me off guard with that one. So it's like,
surprise, motherfucker.
So like, there's no like real DLC I can think of this year that really just blew me away so far.
Yeah, so I guess moving forward then, as I mentioned before, instead of a news story, we're going to go and talk about virtual reality. Over Christmas break, there was a sale for Oculus Rift. I mean, it's pretty cheap right now. It's $400 for everything, but I found it where it was an additional $50 off, so I decided to pick that up. But we've played a bunch of games here. I got a couple things, and we can just run through them. Mike, we played them yesterday, and I'm just kind of interested in hearing about your take on them.
So yesterday was super fun because Ben invited me over because we were talking about some other stuff, but we got distracted with the VR and our Nintendo Switches, and then Ben decided to invite a whole bunch of other people. So technically there was about 8 of us there just hanging out and all that stuff, playing VR, having a fucking blast, and whoever's playing VR, we're playing on the Nintendo Switch, which made me fall in love more with the Nintendo Switch for how easy it was to play with other people.
Yeah, the fact that you just brought it over and like, we're like, hey, let's play some Mario. Like, it's like a fucking pickup game of basketball. Like, all you need is a basketball.
Yeah.
You didn't have to bring like a monitor, and you didn't have to bring your PS4 and 2 controllers or something.
Exactly, and with the Nintendo Switch, you don't need to do that. You can play 2 players in one, and so we had 4 people playing against each other. It was great. And so, but to get back in the VR though, my God, when the VR. You have the Oculus Rift, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that I did not expect actually such a high quality experience with all the games we played. Every game we played was so like the frame rates were awesome, the motions were good, they were really good. I mean, the reason why they weren't perfect, I guess, was because we were also in a small space though. But even within a small space, it worked great, honestly. Even in our bedroom, that had 8 of us in there.
Yeah, we crammed a fuck ton of people
and
just into my bedroom.
And you could still play the VR comfortably. I mean, I almost got killed one time, which we'll talk about later. But yeah, like all the games were super fun. They were tight with their controllers. The sound was so good in all the games. And the motions from the hands were really nice. Honestly, one of my favorite things to do was to take off the VR helmet because it was so jarring to just take it off and you just be back in the bedroom because you actually feel like you're there a lot of times because I didn't realize how much I felt like I was there until I took off the VR helmet. I was like, oh my God, like I'm back in Ben's room again with people around me.
Well, like the Gear VR where you've got your phone hooked up to that like Google Cardboard or whatever, all that stuff, it's incomparable. Like it has a 3D image, but you can't walk around, you can't interact with objects with your hands. The immersion is completely lost.
Yeah.
So Mike, I'm going to list off the games for anyone listening. I'm going to list off the games that I bought and that a lot of them that you played, Mike, but a couple of them you haven't. But once I list them off, I'm just curious. I want to know which one was your favorite and which one is like honorable mention, was good, just from first experience.
Okay.
So this first one you didn't play. It's called Arizona Sunshine. But I'm going to talk about that later. Moving forward, there's King Spray Graffiti.
Played that one. That was really incredible. Once again, it's just you graffitiing with spray paints on a wall, but the high texture qualities, just the feel of you actually spraying the paint on that stuff, and just like how like the shine on it, just how beautiful everything just popped in that thing was incredible, and how easy it was. Like it was so like the controls are so easy that you can just make a perfect circle without any issues by hand, all that stuff. Mm-hmm. It felt like you were actually doing all that stuff. So props to that one. That was great. It wasn't my favorite because I'm not much of an artist and not much of a drawer or anything like that. So, but if you love doing anything like art wise, that game is for you because it is stupid good.
Yeah,
especially if you like graffiti art.
Yeah, I do.
Or street art.
It's a really cool game because based on how far or close you hold the spray can to, it affects the opacity of like how thick the layer of paint is. If you hold the paint in one spot for too long, it starts to dribble. Like it just has a lot of really cool.
It's
ideas.
Pretty realistic to actually real spray painting, at least to my knowledge.
Yeah, I
no
thought
expert
it was.
on it.
I thought it was pretty. I thought they did a good job with just like how it feels. Second game is The Lab. So this is Steam's free VR game. What did you think about that?
Like one of my top favorites, just because everything in it was so much. They were all very simple games, but they were so fun to do, and they all were all uniquely different. I think it's a great free game to get right off the bat because it shows you so many different ways of how the VR works and all that stuff, and all the different things you can do in it with all the other games. So I really appreciate that one's my top. It's my number one because all the games were fun.
That's your number one?
That's my number one because all the games were fun. They were simple, and they each helped you learn how to use the VR even better to help you understand how to use it in interactive, like especially with other games and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And you could get to shoot a robot dog, which was fun.
Yeah, Mike killed my robot dog.
Yeah, I mean, it was in the way. I also fucked up your furniture in your house too.
He loved you, and you shot him with an arrow.
Yeah, that arrow in that game in the lab was freaking great. You said that the one in the VR home was good, but I thought the one in the lab was way better. A lot easier to use and all that stuff to aim and all that.
Yeah. Just for quick context, The Lab is a game where you can play like 5 different mini games or like experiences essentially.
And there's like a hub where you can move around to choose which game you play.
Yeah,
but each one of them worked smoothly, great, beautiful, and was unique to each other.
Mm-hmm. Moving forward, so this is a game that isn't strictly VR but had VR capabilities. This game's called Race the Sun.
That one I played without VR, and it's actually a lot easier to play in VR because I just felt like it was so much easier to make tight turns and to get into tight places because you're just like right in the front of the ship, so you can see where you're going, where like what you're gonna make and what you're not gonna make. I felt like.
Yep, a simple 2-second description is it's a game where you are flying a vehicle and all you do is just avoid objects. It's a very fast-paced game and you're just avoiding things as fast as possible.
And then it adds a little spin to it that you also have to avoid the shadows because your ship is run on solar.
Yeah, you have to stay in the light essentially, which is why it's called Race the Sun, is you always have to stay in sunlight.
So yeah, that was it's interesting, nothing really groundbreaking to me. I just thought it was very fun to play in the VR.
I enjoyed it. I like that.
I know I still enjoyed it, but it's not anything like I have to go through the games. If I don't have 5 games, it's definitely then number 5 then.
Yeah. Well, the thing to me about Race the Sun, which I thought was cool, was I've played both 2D and 3D as Mike has as well, and I guess I really like how the game isn't specifically made for VR, so you're not... Every time that you jump into all the other VR games, what kind of is going to be frustrating to me moving forward is that every time it tries to teach you how to play the game, because it always expects someone new to be playing. Like, it's, you look down at your controllers and this button's to do that, this button's to do that. Like, every time we started up the lab, it always gave you the opportunity of, like, start, or do you want to see the tutorial? Like,
yeah.
I guess it just kind of gets frustrating over time that's just what I'm going to expect to play these VR games. It's always going to try to teach me, even if I've put like 60 hours into the game. But what's cool about Race the Sun is because it wasn't strictly VR, all we did was just hook up the headset, play with a controller, and I mean, you're just like 2 seconds, you're in the game, you're playing. It's good.
Which I did appreciate though about it was interesting, and it'd be interesting to play other games like this. Is just the ability just to quickly look around to see my choices. Because another one you only can look forward, you only see it from the ship's perspective. But when you have the VR, and you can quickly look left and look right to look at more options while still going forward, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah,
that stuff.
Yeah, I liked that quite a bit too. Moving forward, actually, this is a game that Mike got me for the holidays because it was on sale, and it's just like it's what everyone says is what you should buy for like a shooter game.
Yeah.
But Space Pirate Trainer.
I loved it. The sound effects were great.
I thought the music was really fucking good.
The music was great. The motion, everything, like the controls were tight in it, or I guess I don't know what you could call tight controls in VR. In the end, it was very fluent, very easy to do. The melee kind of felt clumsy, which is why it's on my number two in the end. I guess. Well, it's also a very simple game where you just defend. You're on a platform where your ship is, and you're technically defending your ship from the cops, but really you're just avoiding getting shot.
All you're doing is just shooting at drones.
Police drones. And it was a stupid fun though. I mean, it's really like the switching the gun types was very effective and all that stuff. So actually, I might put this in my number one compared to the other game that you're going to come by, because it is very tight. It is more tight than the other game I played. But all the different gun modes are fun, and there's just a lot of bullet time. It was really fun. Like Ben saw me play. You get a chance to use a shield because your melee weapon can become either a grappling hook to grab enemies or a shield. And it's pretty effective to use the shield, but my favorite thing was to use two guns and just to dodge the bullets. It was fun doing that.
Yeah, I thought that was funny. As like I was trying to do more of a balance, like shield in one hand and a gun in the other. Mike just went two guns, like fucking Maverick over there.
It was just fun to do some magic moves and all that stuff. Probably almost threw my back out at one time.
I took a couple Snapchats of Mike, and yeah, he's like all over the place. We had a smaller play area, and Mike was like using every inch of it,
Yeah.
jumping around, avoiding, to me, nothing. And, it was funny. He'd be like, whoa, what was that?
It was just great, and it's just like a solid good one. And people are right; it's definitely one game you should definitely get if you get VR. It's a must buy.
Yeah.
That's gonna be my number one. Honestly, is that one.
All right. Moving forward, this is the game that I first played on VR 2 years ago, but it's Google's Google's Tilt Brush. This is a 3D game where you just get you get a 3D space and you just can draw on it. It gives you a bunch of different particles. You can make like stars, fire. You can make like
basically
a neon.
Everything almost.
Yeah, and it's kind of cool because you can just you can make art based on perspective, and then you can load in other people's art.
It's like Microsoft Paint, but just fucking beautiful. We can do everything you want to do. Because I always think of Microsoft Paint is where people just have the ability to draw everything. Like they just want to draw everything with the tools they have, because they have like all these different tools: wide brush, small brushes, boxes, triangles, all that stuff. And this one actually takes that idea, puts you in a 3D world, and just gives you everything you can think of.
I appreciate what you're saying.
Yeah, I know.
But at the same time,
it's a kind of a diss too.
You're going to relate it to MS Paint?
Yeah.
Why would you do that?
Because it's just something that gives you the ability to draw with the tools you were given. But this thing is like MS Paint, think of MS Paint, but with high quality graphics, 4K. Like I guess it's like 1080p. What is the highest resolution on the VR? I think it's like 1080p.
I don't know.
I know it's not 4K.
It might be close. If I remember, it was like 31.
Really? Oh, I did not know that.
I don't know. I haven't watched a whole lot of videos on VR, but like videos is where you can.
I didn't play this. I never played that one, but I saw a lot of stuff about it and all that.
Yeah, I mean, feel free anyone to correct me. If I remember correctly, I just watched a couple videos in VR, and it gave me the option to do like 30 something.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to diss it one bit. Like I've never gotten a chance to play it yet, but I've seen lots of videos of it, and it's incredible the things. I watched one of our friends play it, and just to see he downloaded something that someone drew, and it just blew my mind. I really wish I did give it a go just to see that world again he was in. But yeah, what's the next one then?
Man. Space Pirate Trainer. It's like GoldenEye 64.
Yeah, it is. No, it isn't, because GoldenEye you actually have missions to go through.
Tilt Brush is like fucking MS Paint. God damn it. Alright, moving forward. You didn't play this one, Mike, and yeah. I'm still learning the game because it's got a fucking ridiculous learning curve, but Elite Dangerous.
I have played that game.
Well, you haven't. Yeah.
I haven't played in VR though, which I'm dying to try because man, I love that game.
Yeah, we're gonna set aside some time.
I'm excited for that.
We're gonna set aside some time to play that game in the future because the touch controls in it. I'm debating if an Xbox controller is just easiest.
I play with it when I used to play it. I play with the Xbox controller, but I also had to use the keyboards too for some other commands, not for combat or anything like that. But for doing like space jumps and all that stuff, I use the keyboard for that stuff.
So that might be hard when you
got a headset that's the problem with the headset. So I'm very surprised that people came up with the controller scheme because you need a lot of buttons for it, which makes sense though because you're in a ship though. It's like there's so many things you can do, and a lot of stuff you just need the keyboard for the basic commands that you don't use in combat. I always had sort of my basic flight in combat was using my controller, but everything else for just like basic map relays and setting waypoints, all that stuff, all that junk was set on my computer board, especially setting hyperdrive jumps and stuff.
Yeah, but I did try the game out.
Yeah.
Just like I'm going through the tutorials, so I can't really say too much about it. We can move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
But I did want to say about Elite Dangerous that out of all the other games that we've talked about or are going to talk about, Elite Dangerous is easily the most atmospheric for me. If you're looking for a completely, I mean, figuratively and literally out of this world experience, it's just like, it's ridiculous that you tilt your shift, you change the yaw and you start going into a spin or something, and you just, like, I've never gotten motion sickness from a game, and VR has been talked about to give you motion sickness, but it's like the Matrix, like your mind makes it real. Like when you change direction in your ship, like you feel like you're moving. It's that immersive. It's insane. Elite Dangerous, even if I don't end up appreciating the game, because it honestly, it's scary. It's intimidating. The game just sounds so intense. But even if I can't like appreciate Elite Dangerous for what a lot of other people see it as, at the very least, I can appreciate it as just like it's just so immersive.
My
so
favorite thing to do in the VR right now in that game is to go into a docking bay and all that stuff. I'm super excited to just pilot into myself in a docking bay, and parking my ship. But like, I just can't wait to finally just get in there and just look around to see all the other ships parked there and all that stuff, and just land it on mine.
Yeah,
I'm super excited for that.
Well, the first thing in the tutorial is learning to take off. So you start in the docking bay, and like. You start on a platform and it lifts you up into like the launch area, and when I started lifting up, I was like, "Oh shit! Oh shit!"
I know. Like I had that same experience just from not even with the VR, and I'm just, do you have no idea how excited I am for that?
Yeah, I'll have to figure it out, and then
but
be able to help
I just
you.
don't know how people can play it though without the keypad and a controller pad at the same time.
Yeah, we'll see. And the last game that we played is called Robo Recall.
That's like GoldenEye 64.
I hate you so much.
That's my number 2. That one's that's a great game. That problem I had issues with the. Do you actually want to explain what the game is actually first?
Yeah, sure. Honestly, the story doesn't really matter too much in this one. It's a shooting game. Everything that you shoot is a robot or a drone.
Robots gain ascension, and so now you have to recall them, and recalling means shooting them.
Just murdering them.
That's basically the storyline.
What is really cool is I know Superhot did this, where you can like throw your guns, you can grab enemies, stuff like that. But because they're robots, you can like rip them apart. One of the best things I did was I took a robot, grabbed him from the back, ripped off his head so he was dead, and then just used him as a human shield, or not even a human shield, just as a robot shield for other bullets coming in.
My favorite part of that was like, you don't need this anymore. And just ripped his head off and then just used him as a shield. That was great.
Yeah, and you can carry 2 robots with each hand. There was another time where I grabbed 2 robots, and I was like, now kiss! And I was like, mushy, 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 mushy.
I was playing Mario Kart
and
that time,
smashed them together.
That game was a lot of fun. The missions are fun and interesting. They're challenging too, which I appreciated. Yeah, there's one like I just got the last second, which is great because one of them was like, oh, they need robot samples. To get robot samples, you have to grab the robots or the pieces, which you have to hurry up. If you destroy a robot, they disintegrate, so you have to throw pieces or whole robots into it to count as collecting samples in a certain area. And there's a time where I just needed one more to go, and it was like down to the last second. And I just chucked him like the first ever chucked a robot, and he just made it into like the last like millisecond. I was like, yeah. It was a great trick. It was like the last like thing you need to do to complete the mission.
Yeah,
it was so good.
Robo Recall is definitely the music and even like they have an announcer in it that's like Robo Recall. Yeah. Like I think the announcer makes the game a lot. Yeah. It's just really funny. He's like, get ready to rock in 3, 2, 1, and he gets you really jazzed up. Whenever you get like headshot, it's like headshot. It just feels like a really funny arcadey game,
The problem that I have with the game is that like you always have to grip everything by holding down the grip trigger. So there's like, if we keep on talking about this, I want to just like call it this. There's the grip trigger, and then there's the trigger to shoot guns, like the weapon trigger.
Let's just say like bottom trigger and index trigger or something like
Let's
that.
just say like yeah, if you want to, but yeah. So to grab things, like you need to use the grip trigger, and you need to hold it down to keep them holding to your hand, and then you need to pull the index trigger to shoot, which was kind of it got tiring on the hands for me for a bit, and sometimes it was difficult to get the things you wanted to grab because it was like you had two triggers, so it's kind of like it kind of messed with my mind a little bit. And it almost got me killed once because as I was playing when I was playing Mario Kart 8...
This is a great story.
I was playing Mario Kart with some people who were playing the coin one, and I was actually winning. I was like, oh yeah! So then one of our buddies chased me down, so I got really intense, so I leaned in just a little bit more. And as soon as I leaned in, I hear a whoosh right behind me. And then when I look up, I see one of our buddies was playing VR, and he was missing a controller in his hand.
Yeah, the controller, he went to go throw his gun at an enemy.
No, he went to throw a mug.
Well, either way.
Yeah.
He went to go throw, an object in the game. And when he let go of the triggers, it slipped out of his hand. Because obviously that's how you're grabbing the controller, too. Yeah. And it just flew, and, like, it dodged Mike by, like, an inch.
But, like, not even...
It was a hard whip, too.
Yeah. It left a dent in the wall.
You would have had a bruise.
Dude, yeah. This is, like... I just realized, too, that if I, like, I still had to be leaning just for me to just get barely hit by it. So if I was just sitting up, it would have been squared in the face, dude. It was that close to just knocking my ass out.
Yeah.
The good thing, though, is that those controllers are really sturdy. So you can throw them and they'll still work. Sorry, Ben, about that.
No, it's fine.
Look, I never threw one, but yeah. Then someone else apparently threw the controllers, too. So once again, it's like the Wii U remote. Wear your wristbands, please.
Yeah, no, we had to make that a rule at the end is wristband required.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Robo Recall might be my number one.
It's my number two. Great game. The storyline's good. You know, it's like, once again, robots get feelings. You have to destroy them all.
Yeah, I just like...
dark.
It feels like it gives you a whole lot of options. I mean, to rip apart... Like, we had a buddy that ripped apart a robot's leg and then used that leg to beat other robots to death. Like, it was just funny, the things that you could come up with.
The weapons are fun. They're simple weapons, but you can upgrade all of them. Mm-hmm. And they're all viable weapons, depending on what you're comfortable with.
So, Mike, you didn't play this game, but I did another day, and I just wanted to briefly talk about it. But this game's called Arizona Sunshine. It's considered one of the better, like, shooter games right now. And I have to say I agree. I don't think it's as good as Robo Recall or even Space Pirate Trainer, but
interesting.
What's really cool about it is that you do kind of get to explore a little bit more. Like you can go into you play in the Arizona desert and there's zombies and like you're kind of like this this like over the top actiony here. Well, you're not like
I guess
not like over the top.
Like the graphics are kind of like you can play two players in that too. But I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, more or less, you're kind of like a gimmicky like you. You just like talk like Duke Nukem essentially. Like
it nails it. I think.
He's
one
just like
stupid liners and all that stuff.
Yeah, okay, that's the way that I've been trying to say it for the last 5 seconds. Yeah, he's just like a one-liner kind of guy every time, like unfazed by situations. But the game's pretty cool. I have had problems with immersion in it. I do like they have a legitimate story in the game, which is really cool. And Robo Recall has it has levels, but it's not a legitimate story.
Yeah, but you actually move around in them Robo Recall too, which I forgot to mention is that you actually in this you teleport, but still move around the map and all that stuff.
Yeah, and Arizona Sunshine is all one big long going map. Kind of think of like Half-Life 2 or something.
To point B.
Yeah.
You know? What's it called? Robo
Recall.
Recall is like you technically stay in the map, but you can bounce around the map and all that stuff. But you're usually in one area. You don't really hop around too much, and there's not much of a path.
Yeah. Arizona Sunshine's cool because it's more like story based. As the other ones are more like experiential based, I guess is a good way to put it.
Yeah.
But you loot cars, you go into like buildings and kind of like check them out for ammo and stuff. And actually, so the one thing that I've been afraid to do is actually get my first virtual reality horror game. But in Arizona Sunshine, it's a zombie game, and I've been in the like bright Arizona desert the entire game. But now, just recently, I got into a mine.
Yeah, but I know what you're talking about.
And you've got to hold a flashlight in one hand, and it's pitch black. So you've got to hold a flashlight in one hand and shoot with the other. And like, not only is it hard to just like you can't see anything around you, and the gun's already difficult to shoot.
Mm-hmm.
But like, if your light isn't in, like, if you can't see the guys that you're shooting and the gun in your hand, you're going to miss because you have to be able to line up the crosshairs with the enemy.
Right.
So it's this really fucking weird thing that you've got to do where the light has to be shining on the gun so you can see the crosshairs and the enemy that you're shooting at, and it's really fucking scary. All I did was enter the mine for like a couple seconds, kill like the first 2 groups, and I had to like take it off because I was just like, oh my god, I like. If anything, I know that they're going to come up behind me at some point, but if anything comes up behind me, I know I'm just going to be like, freak out. Like, it's not even, like, explicitly a horror game. I'm so afraid to, like...
No, yeah, I don't blame you.
I've said this before in other podcasts. Like, I am a scaredy cat. I like horror games. I like getting scared, but this might be... Not Arizona Sunshine might be too much, but like maybe virtual reality horror in general might be too much for me. We'll see.
Like I'm usually a little bit better with horror games, but when we tried the Resident Evil 7 VR on the PS4, even that got to me too much. And I was like, this is just, I can't do that. It's like I can do a computer screen horror game, but to put the VR set on, especially like yours, like an actual real one, I'm like, no way, I can't do that. I don't think anyone can do that.
I want to push myself to...
Dude, don't. You give yourself a heart attack.
We'll see.
I would kill myself, honestly, in that thing. I know, like, I just throw the remote so I hit myself in the face somehow.
I think I want to take miniature steps to get to enjoy horror games in VR.
A good test one
It's going to be a long journey, though.
I think a good test one is that one on the PS4 was that railway shooting one with the clowns and all that stuff? Is that one on there?
Oh,
that might be a good test.
Until Dawn, Rush of Blood. No, I don't think it is.
Oh, that's a shame. That might be a good. That would have been a perfect test one because I had a good amount of jump scares and all the scariness to it.
Yeah,
but very mellow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's just our virtual reality game rundown. I'm sure we'll be talking about it in the future.
I did want to touch on one subject though that you brought up with Elite Dangerous, and it was like the first time you ever got nauseous. You got some like nausea playing the game.
Yeah, just a little motion sickness.
Yeah, motion sickness. Actually, Mario 8 handheld, when you get to a lot of those roads that curve and stuff, and the screen rotates, that actually messed with me.
Really?
Yeah, I actually had issues playing those levels. It doesn't sit well with me at all for some reason. I'm very surprised about that too.
Huh.
Because I keep on trying, like I tried rotating the screen, but it just didn't help with me. It would just throw my brain in a loop for sometimes. It was very weird. I never got actually, like, I didn't go like, oh, I can't play this level. It nicks me just a little bit where I'm like, oh, this is kind of giving me a little off-putting a bit. And that's actually surprised me. When I play on the big screen and all that stuff, when I was playing with my girlfriend, no issues at all. But when I'm on the handheld, I noticed that when I hit those really curvy roads and all that stuff, and you're flipping around a bit, especially when like the level like tilts completely sideways and you're doing all this weird stuff. Yeah, it throws me off a bit, just a little bit though. Nothing does make me stop playing, but it unsettles me. Is the best term I can think of.
Sure.
Which I thought was interesting. I don't know if you ever experienced that playing the handheld.
Not with Mario Kart, no.
Yeah, it's kind of surprising that that's what got me finally with that video game. Usually, like, people, it's like, oh, I get vertigo, or I get, like, this, like, especially with a point of view, like, you know, people can't do it with narrow. For me, I never had any issues at all, but I understand. I'm surprised that Mario 8 is what finally got me.
Yeah. I guess I should clarify, with Elite Dangerous, when I started tilting and turning, I wasn't, like, sick to my stomach motion sickness, but I felt it was off-putting until I kind of got my...
You actually felt like you were doing it and all that
Until
stuff.
I got my space legs.
Yeah.
You know, people say, like, sea legs.
No, I get to what you're saying. It caught you off guard at first.
I was like, it got me really anxious to be like, I'm going to be turning and flipping in
right,
this
so
thing.
you felt you were actually doing it, which is cool.
And, I mean, once I did it, I felt like I was okay with it. But initially, like, at first impact, when it was like, okay, now use these controls to turn, I started turning, I was like, oh, baby. You know?
You're thinking you're actually going to fall out. It's great.
Okay, so... I guess that's just generally VR. I mean, we can move on from there.
By the way,
we'll be talking about it.
Though, it's just like I just want to talk about yesterday. That was stupid fun. Just playing the VR, the Nintendo Switch, and all that stuff was just incredibly fun. That was like I'm super excited for the Nintendo Switch because it's bringing back couch play and all that stuff. Just being next to people to play games with.
Yeah. And
I miss that so badly. And just to have like the VR going at the same time, just having a group of people just playing video games. I haven't experienced that in forever, and that was just fucking fantastic, dude.
It was a good time. We'll have to schedule more video game days or something where we just have like 8 people or so.
Because like even when we were doing that, we had people doing like Nintendo Switch VR. We had people doing hookah, and then we had other people watching movies. It was like the whole house was doing stuff all together.
Yeah,
it was just great. I'm just saying that day, dude, was fucking fantastic.
I had fun.
Yeah, I had a great time.
So here's a couple interesting things, Mike. Yeah. There's a couple events going on this week that I know of both of them. One I follow somewhat religiously. The other one I'm always hearing about, but I don't pay attention to it too much. AGDQ started today. That is Awesome Games Done Quick on Twitch.
Oh shit!
Yep.
Yeah, I love that. It's something I always love having on.
I've got to upload this podcast when we're done talking. I guarantee this is what we're going to be watching when we're doing it. So if you're unfamiliar with Awesome Games Done Quick, I would love to do a small little promotion for it because it's totally worth your time. This is going to go on between January 7th, being today, and January 14th. So it's going on for a full week.
So excited. It's just a great thing to watch. If you're studying or you just want some in the background, doing games quickly is a great thing to have. When you're doing laundry, dude, we should definitely have that up on the TV and play our Nintendo Switches.
Hell yeah. So if you're unfamiliar with this event, pretty much what it is, it's a charity event. For cancer, I think breast cancer, maybe?
No, I think it's cancer generally. Either way, it's for a good cause, and it actually goes to a charity that actually does give all the donations to the people in need.
Yeah, so you can donate as much as you want, or you don't need to donate at all. But it's a sponsored event on Twitch, and what they do, Awesome Games Done Quick. It's a speed running event, so they have. I mean, it's a 7-day event. Like, they have probably 50 or 100 games that people will speed run, and then it's just on to the next one.
They get the best speedrunners for it, too, as well. And how they do it is that what you donate helps you also then pick what games that become speedrunning and all that. And you also sometimes set a goal for the speedrunner to do as well.
Yeah, like a big thing, for example, is like people play Metroid or Super Metroid.
Yeah, the classic.
Yeah, people do speedrunning Super Metroid, and you can donate towards certain things. So like at the end, you can save the animals or you can just completely disregard them.
Because the planet blows up at the end.
Spoiler, Mike. No, I'm kidding.
You actually gave me a look, too. I was like, really?
I know. I got really serious for a second there.
You actually gave me a look. It's just like, what?
Mike, spoiler.
But yeah, so it's like, in the end of Metroid, though, the planet blows up. Spoiler alert. Jesus. And on the planet, you notice that there's creatures, and you either save the creatures by bringing the ship with you, or you can just leave them there.
Yeah, so pretty much, like, people will speedrun it, and they'll typically sacrifice the animals for a couple more seconds. And you can donate, and it'll modify how they play the game, essentially. You can donate how they will play the game. So, like, $5 towards saving the animals, $10 to kill the animals, and it just kind of goes back and forth. That is the most obvious example to give, but you can do it for a lot of things. Like there was one time where someone was speedrunning Super Monkey Ball, and it was like which character they would speedrun it as. Yeah. Like it was kind of, they do like these small kind of like pointless things, but it's all for a good cause, so why not?
Yeah, and I love it too because the speedrunners try to get a high score, but they're not trying to get the world record. So a lot of times you have the speedrunners playing it, and they're just telling you how they do this, and they tell you the history of everything.
Yeah,
so it's really relaxed.
It's informative.
Yeah, and usually they have other speedrunners who do the speedrun, and they all just talk about it, all that stuff. They talk about the game and like all these glitches. Old past glitches. It's really cool. Like, even for me, I never do speedruns, and I don't really care much for them. But man, they really got me into it. And so like every year they have them, I always go in to watch them every time.
And they pick games from all sorts of generations. Oh, yeah. So like Super Metroid, we already mentioned, that's from way back in the day. And then they have like Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, which is on the N64. And even in comparison to those two, which are two separate, completely different games, they're even doing Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild this year. Like, This is a game that came out less than a year ago. They do games from all over the spectrum of the gaming universe. It's just a very awesome event.
So
you've got 7 days to check it out.
If you're an old gamer, they're going to have old games. If you're a new gamer, they're going to have a lot of new games you play too, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a huge list too, showing what's coming up on that, which I appreciate.
And so that's AGDQ. You can find it on Twitch. The other the other event that's going on, which I don't know too much about, so I'm just gonna briefly mention it in case anyone's interested. I'm not gonna talk too much about it because I honestly don't know what they offer. But PAX South 2018, the Penny Arcade Expo, is starting on January 12th and going to January 14th. So that's at the end of this month. I
really know what they're about. I always hear about them, but I never know what they focus on.
So I have a basic description, but going beyond this, once again, it's kind of unfamiliar territory to me, so I'd rather not misinform anyone. But it's a convention featuring tabletop gaming and video gaming news, events, and announcements. And I mean, that kind of sounds on a similar note to, like, I would almost say Comic-Con or something. I mean, it sounds like Comic-Con, they announce movies, they announce games, like that. Yeah. It seems like sort of an all-around, like, techie gaming.
They hit everything.
Yeah, it sounds like if they're covering all that stuff, then they kind of follow into the same category.
Yeah.
Aside from that, I don't know, like those. Specifically, AGDQ 2018 is something that I just really wanted to mention because I love.
Yeah, Sam.
I mean, it takes a quick Twitch search to find it, and it's totally worth your time.
It's always on their homepage when it starts. Is great. It's sponsored by Twitch on the Twitch channel, all that stuff. And Twitch is a really good community site and all that stuff, which is wonderful. And they just they usually make a lot. I think they actually do charity for games for sick children, all that stuff. I think that's where the money goes to. I don't know if you remember that charity. I forget their exact name, though. But they're a charity that gets games for children that are bedridden and all that stuff. So it gives them something to do to keep their spirits up and all that stuff, which helps them get better quicker.
I thought you said bedwetting. You said bedridden. I was like, why are they doing it for all those stupid bedwetters? I'm a terrible person.
Yeah, if you wet your bed, you're stupid.
Here's a charity, you loser. We're gonna move on to games coming out this week that we found on Steam. I only found one, Mike.
I got shit this time. For the first time ever. I got nothing.
I mean, not to use this as an excuse, but if you were expecting a ton of games the first week of the year, like, good luck.
Yeah.
We're past the holidays. There's not a lot of good stuff coming out.
It's usually always before the holidays, especially Christmas, that most games come out, especially AAA games.
And so, not to sound like a broken record for the next 2 or 3 months, but I'm sure that these lists are going to be pretty bone dry for a little bit. The one game that I did found sounds kind of cool is called Artifact Adventure Gaiden, or however that word's pronounced. But essentially, the summary is: experience the Game Boy-like design and 2D open world of this retro JRPG. The choices you make are all up to you, and they may end up proving invaluable help in the future when disaster strikes. Embark on an adventure in which you sew the threads of your own future. So, the game is essentially, it looks exactly like Game Boy. It's just black or that greenish tint, essentially. It looks like it's played out like an RPG where essentially, like, you have this big above, like, top-down map of the world. There's RPG elements where you're, like, talking, you're doing questing. The fighting, though, looks interesting. So it's like a side-scrolling fighting where everything's moving at once and you have to, like, dodge and attack. It's not a turn-based fighting from the looks of it.
The whole thing reminds me of that one game, and when you play like a little girl in like a monster world or something like that.
Undertale.
Kind of reminds me of that a bit.
Yeah, story. I mean, the fighting is completely different, but the general overall feel of it kind of it has like a slower pace to it, I guess.
Yeah, it sounds like
Undertale does.
It sounds like what I mean by Undertale's like a hugely, you make the story, you affect the story greatly. And I feel like this one sounds like that too. When all your actions actually have a huge effect on the story and all that stuff.
Sure.
And there's going to probably be multiple endings for it.
So this game's coming out on January 9th. Once again, it's called Artifact Adventure Gaiden. And we'll see how it does. It's got no reviews, obviously, yet. But
yeah.
I don't know. I would always hate to, like, recommend a bad game. But, I mean, this looks like it's pretty decently put together.
Yeah, I like the uniqueness of it.
Okay. So we've got one announcement before we finish up the podcast here. And that's that we're going to start doing casual video game reviews on our YouTube channel. So pretty much it's going to be like us talking as we're like it's going to be a video version of this podcast. Mike and I are going to be talking, if I played a game one week or if he played a game the next week.
Right.
I'm going to be asking him questions like, Mike, you played Cuphead, what did you think about Cuphead?
It was shit.
Yeah, and then like what'd you think about the aesthetics? What'd you think about this? And
terrible.
so it'll be like a coffee conversation essentially, but in the form of a review.
Yeah, more relaxed, so Ben wanted to do this so we our opinions didn't seem so fact. It was more of just an easier going out on reviews and all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean I think it's just I think it's a way to make it seem like it's a lot less critical. I don't know. It seemed like it made sense.
Yeah.
But so we're gonna try to do that once every week. So I would do a game one week, Mike would do a game the following week, and then back and forth. That way, hopefully, Mike and I can finish a game and make a video in 2 weeks' time. We'll see how that schedule goes, but that's the idea.
Ben, I'm sure he'll have easier time doing it. Me, that has very little experience of editing videos, might have a little bit harder time, but we'll see how it happens.
Yeah, we'll see. God damn it, we always forget to think of a next top 5 for next week.
Well, we can always just, tweet it out or just put it on our Facebook channel when we think of one.
Yeah, sure. Okay. I can't even think of anything right now.
Neither
so
can I.
That's the best thing to do. We'll announce it on Twitch and Twitter, and Facebook and all those other places of interest. Other than that, I'm going to continue to be playing Zelda Breath of the Wild this week, maybe a little bit more VR. Mike, what do you think you're going to be playing?
My main goal is to play more Darkest Dungeon and to finish up Fury. I would like to finish up Fury.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have other games that I'm going to be probably playing. Obviously, I'd be playing more Mario Kart 8, the Switch game. I'll probably be picking up Breath of the Wild a little bit later and all that stuff. But I have a few other games that are really old that I want to finish myself, which I might talk about or not. But those are my free time and all that stuff. But my main goal is for the channel is to finish up Fury, because I said I was starting it. I need to finish it. And also to get through Darkest Dungeon, because I also just want to beat the game.
Sure. Okay. Well, we're going to finish up there. And, thanks for listening, as always. And, sorry that we had kind of that couple weeks of a break, but we're going to be going
back. It's the holidays, even all the people I follow, too, the holidays were just crazy and all that stuff. Not many people are, making stuff. You can't blame us for that.
Yep, but we're absolutely going back to the weekly schedule now.
Yeah, normal stuff, and hopefully even more better quality, like I said, since I won't be traveling anymore, so you'll be seeing more stuff on our channel and all that stuff, especially more responses, too.
For sure.
All right, so yeah.
Stay tuned. You stay classy.
Stay classy, bitches.